The Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 112 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel. We are just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch, and this week we were doing a early episode. We were here a little bit early because I have in real life things today to do. Sonny's brother is 6 years old today, and so we are going to his pizza party later this afternoon. I'm very excited about that. It's very rainy. So they had to move it from the park to somewhere indoors, but it's fine. He'll be good to go. I'm sure he's still very excited. and also, since it's raining, I'm hoping it's not going to play me with the video. I know sometimes when it rains, since I switched over to Spectrum's internet, it kind of plays me with my audio and my picture. So I apologize in advance. I'd forgotten all about it. And I saw something when I first logged in and I was like, oh no, please don't have problems. And I was like, let me just tell the people beforehand. I apologize in advance if I sound like a robot at any point. I promise AI is not taking over. It is just crappy weather, and sometimes Spectrum internet just
Plus, I'm here, so if it is AI taking over, I will be able to be like, this is not a drill.
This is true.
So, I mean, you got me here as back. Although, I mean, I was joking with Garrett because I generally have this computer specifically hardwired, because of broadcasting, doing live streams, because it's better. But also, this is my gaming computer. And as we all know, lag kills. So you don't want to be plugged in. Like, Wi-Fi gaming can get really, really hairy. Like,
I can imagine.
You don't want to necessarily, like, even like Bob's is like the super game computer. So it's like hardwired. So I have like a separate, my ultra portable that we bought to travel with. Because we wanted something that wasn't one of our main computers, that was smaller. And so we bought an ultra portable, one of the small, like, and so I got a really good engine. It's great. Bought it in 2016. It's just as good as the day it was born. And
good.
It's got super ultra protections on it.
Fancy.
So, it's like what I'll call you on if I like log into like if I'm on a trip and I call in or something like that. Maybe. Usually I use my phone network in those cases because forget the Wi-Fi that.
Right.
But anyway, so Tech Minute.
Yes.
It was a little quicker than usual, but get that in there.
We have some nice comments in the chat already. Started before we got here. Brad thought we were going to actually be here at 1 o'clock because we run late.
Hey, dude, we are consistent.
Right.
We are nothing if not consistent.
Listen, as I always say, in the words of Gandalf, we arrive precisely when we mean to. So
Sam knows.
Maybe I'll have to have Darius. I'm like, can you recut that and just say we get here when we get here?
When we get here on Wizard time. Bob and I have been using Wizard time for a long time, actually, because we never get to Ren Fair on time. So
what do you mean to? And Hassan is here. His notifications work today, so we're glad about that.
Yes.
Glad to see you. Hi, Paul. I'm excited for Dynasty 2. Tony's collision promo was fire.
It was, actually.
I think that probably, I really like the Timeless Tony character. I think she's done a great job with it, but I think last night was probably the best promo she's cut as Timeless Tony. That was fantastic. And
I think she's had the best like week of her time at AEW.
Yeah, I would.
Wednesday and last night, she was like ready.
Yeah, and the Thunder Rosa promo, not from last night's but from Collision last week, where that was a really great promo. That's probably one of Thunder Rosa's best promos that she's ever cut. Like, so the two of them are firing on all cylinders, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that translates to the ring. I know some people have some concerns because clearly Toni Storm is an amazing wrestler, but sometimes with the character work and the in-ring stuff haven't quite meshed together, and sometimes her in-ring stuff is not as good as it used to. Well, not it's not as it seems like she puts more. It's hard with this character, I can only imagine, but sometimes it just doesn't connect. So I'm hoping that it connects today because I think that, or tonight, because I think that should be a really good match. And
I'm excited.
Lauren said Dynasty should be a really good show. I'm worried about the two women's matches with Julia being injured and Tony's title defenses being very underwhelming so far. Those are both very valid concerns. Yeah, I hope Julia's stuff is not too serious. So we'll get for that. And then
Poor Willow is gonna end up getting yay for pizza indeed. It's making me want pizza. I'm like torn between pizza and tacos because
yeah, Nikki pointed this out because Sunny hated pizza. And Nikki said, I'll never forget the look she gave me when she was a toddler and I tried to give her pizza for lunch. Yeah, Sunny, she hated it.
Funny.
Would not. She would
That's
not
the
eat
way
it.
I always like when kids are like my brother doesn't like chocolate. He's one of those random weird kids who doesn't like chocolate.
Nikki only likes like milk chocolate and only in like small amounts, where I love chocolate. Like I love dark chocolate. Yeah. I love milk chocolate. Like I love chocolate.
My sister had a candy stash that she like hid away in her room and that we would like. I would rate it occasionally because she was the sweet tooth more than me. But every so often I would want stuff, but she like, and Matilda's turned out exactly the same. So I think it's kind of hilarious watching the like the repeat. I'm like, she's like you. Does she have a stash of like all different kinds of candy, like a variety, everything from taffy to chocolate?
That's great. Yeah, I usually try to keep chocolate on hand because I usually have cravings for it. So I usually have some sort of, especially because there's like holiday candy. And so then I'll like get that.
I like dark chocolate. So when the dark chocolate Hershey Kisses are like super cheap and they're actually made of chocolate, like and not bullcrap.
I usually do Terry's chocolate every year at Christmas. That's just like one of the things I always look for is the Terry's dark chocolate. And then they guess because they're trying to make money, of course. So they made an Easter themed one. I haven't opened it yet, but it's supposed to have like pieces of like mini candy eggs in it or something. It's sitting on my dresser where I can see it right now. It's looking at me, asking why I have not opened it yet, but I had to finish other.
Those Cadbury mini eggs are definitely one of my kryptonites as candy. Is like that as a kid. Those were like treasured. The Cadbury mini eggs, the ones with the hard shell.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah,
those were like
time for second breakfast.
Yeah, almost. Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So. Or at least for candy or something.
Candy. We're definitely having like the candy time. I mean, it matters. It's very important stuff.
Yeah,
I like. I like the chocolate. Yeah, I like it. I like the dark stuff because, like, it's weird, and you probably understand this, even Nikki, is that because of the dairy in the milk, there's less of a problem with the dark, even though there's some dairy in it. But it's also like in terms of like guts, it's like softer on your guts than the milk chocolate. But I totally get it because I know people that just despise dark chocolate. And I don't know, I'm on like the complete other end of the spectrum. I don't hate milk chocolate. I love cooking. I like I'm really good at baking and making desserts. So I will use the right stuff for the people that I'm cooking for.
Well, that's good.
So I like trying to like give people what they like. But I mean,
give the people what they want.
Exactly. When I'm making food for people, that's why we had a restaurant. But when I bake especially, it's all about like trying to match the meal, like when I do potluck, trying to go with the meal and something that'll make everybody happy.
Yeah, that's always a good rule of thumb to follow. Brett says, I'll eat chocolate, but I'm more of a white chocolate fan. Not a big fan of chocolate overall. My strawberry flavored is my jam. Yeah, I like white chocolate. Nikki loves white and strawberry chocolate. Yes.
I don't like white because it's too sweet. See, I like it's like the opposite. The reason I like probably the dark is because of the more bitter.
Yeah, probably so.
It's got the bittersweet instead of the super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been like, even when I need a fruit with my white chocolate to offset it.
Wow.
I need that tartness or something.
Okay.
I'll eat it I like it with a berry or something like, or a fruit or something. That'll offset it. Maybe a salted something to give it some, but just straight white chocolate is just way too sweet for me.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. I mean, I know I can see why. Yeah, I can see why you say that.
I've cooked with it. I've done like white chocolate cheesecake for everyone because I know that people dig it. It's a huge deal, but it's still not my jam. Like it's just not at all. It's like that's why it's nice. It's handy to have Bob around because we have a lot of different tastes. So when I'm testing things that are not necessarily my jam and I'm not exactly sure if it's perfect, like is it supposed to taste like this? That's what he is here for. Like it's just
to be a taste tester. That's a pretty good gig.
This is good, right? Yeah, he was out of town doing a fun excursion for he won a work trip thing, and
nice.
I had to bring dessert to potluck this week without him, and I was like, oh my god, what if it sucks? But it turned out everyone liked it. So
good.
I made little I made like quick little like the pastry things with the cinnamon brown sugar and roasted almond inside with a whiskey egg wash. I used those little pastry shells, but I did it really easy. I cheated. I used just butter and those pre-made pastry shells.
Listen,
they came out.
You do what you got to do.
Well, because I'm not gonna like pastry dough takes hours or days to make.
Right.
Like if you make pastry dough for Jewish rugula, like the way that like my grandma made it, you have to have the dough in the fridge for like 2 days because because it creates steam when it cooks, and there's all these like crazy.
Right.
Again, there's baking. Baking it is a science.
It is. Colin is here with us, and Colin has weighed in and said that he also loves white chocolate. And you're right, it is hella sweet.
I like it with the raspberry or the strawberry would be fine with me.
Right.
I like raspberry and strawberry.
And now that I think about it, a lot of times when you see like those, like the pretzel rods that have icing on them, it's usually the white chocolate. And I guess it's because it's the salty sweet. And then of course the white chocolate pretzels that people obviously are really popular too.
That's better for me.
Yeah, and I really enjoy like the white chocolate covered pretzels are delicious, and I bet that I never really thought about it, but I bet that's why it's because the salt to kind of offset the sweetness.
Those are better than I would have one of those before I would just have a straight up white chocolate bar.
Very fair,
but I totally get it because it's crazy, brain crazies. But yes, anyway, so chocolate.
So we will get into I guess a little bit of the wrestling. So Friday I went to Ashe 3, which was Ashe Cosmos, and it was so we had a theme, and I did end up going with I did not go with the custom Bad Bitches shirt that I have. I'm holding that off. Good. But I do have
stars.
Nikki says we're so off topic again. This is the Powerbombshells.
No, we do a quick rundown of our fantastic stuff. And yes,
sometimes it's tech minute, sometimes it's weather minute, sometimes it's gardening corner, sometimes
we got baking. We are nerds of many colors. So
very much so.
That's right, Nikki.
But it is very much
we're watching the clock. We got it. It's all and all of this spiraling off of Sunny hating. It's all because Sunny hated pizza, and you know what? That's all right. I totally get it. I bet the pork, like, it's so funny when you don't like something because kids give out to you about it because they're like, you don't like it. It's like, yeah, we all have different tastes. It's amazing. It's just like wrestling. We all like different things.
This is true. It is.
Yeah.
Except for I'm sure there's not people. Well, I was gonna say it's probably not people trolling you because you don't eat pizza, but there probably are. Because
there are definitely people. Listen, look at the debate about fruit on pizza or not, which is fair. A silly debate because if you're eating a normal pizza, there's fruit on it to begin with. It's called a tomato.
Listen, why are you bringing logic into this?
So you all lose. Unless you didn't have tomato sauce on whatever pizza you're talking about.
Well, and in some cases, Nikki will have to forego tomato sauce because it gives her indigestion. So sometimes we do pizza with just olive oil on it.
Which is olive oil.
Which actually tastes pretty good. But
it's really good for you too. It's totally fine to do it that way.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yes, totally. But anyway, we could do this for hours and we can't.
back to Ashe. So
Ashe.
they had
yes because Ashe. You guys had you guys actually dressed up and stuff, right?
Nikki and I went
on theme.
We did go on theme. Nikki and I both wore shirts with stars on them that we found. Because I had a few things, but Nikki didn't. So we actually found matching shirts but different colors. So Nikki's like, do you care if we get matching shirts? Someone's like, I don't care. So we wore matching shirts with cute little stars on them. And then Nikki had star earrings. I wore earrings that I had with moon and stars on them. And like I did I don't know if you probably can't, I don't think you can see. I did blue nails, but this one is kind of sparkly. So we went with galaxy themes. I did buy nail accents the night before, but Sunny, I saw Nikki said Sunny down in the corner. Friday got a little out of hand. It was just, I was doing my day job and trying to prep questions, and I was doing multiple things. And I was like, you know what? Nikki's like, let's just save it for next month or the next show because it's going to be themed again. And so we'll hang on to those. But yeah, it was fun. And so Doug ended up not being able to make it because he wasn't feeling well. So he watched the live stream, but his wife was there and she dressed up. She got to be part of not many people dressed up, but she did. She had on like galaxy leggings and she had a NASA hoodie that had like different things on it. And she had an astronaut helmet. So they brought her up before the main event and it was her and another guy. And so the winner got tickets to the next Ashe show and Kat won. And so she was very excited. She was actually they almost didn't do it because they didn't think anybody dressed up and the show kept getting moved, like matches kept getting moved around because they started half an hour late. And so she was like, I want people to see me like I dressed up. And so they ended up doing it. She went and talked to Darius's mom because she was out doing tickets and stuff. And they're like, well, we'll find out. And so they did it before the main event. And so she won and it was very excited. Yeah. I saw a picture of a girl with an astronaut helmet on Twitter. Yep. That's my, that's a friend of mine. Her name is Kat. Her husband couldn't make it. And so she would have gone anyway, but her husband was at home watching. And he's like, and he tweeted, he's like, that's my wife.
I was going to say, I follow Doug on Twitter and know it was him. And when I saw that tweet this morning, I was like, oh my God. And then I saw her outfit. I'm like, that is so dope. She looks so adorable. I love it.
Yeah, she was like, and this was like just stuff that she had already. Like she didn't purchase it just for the show. Like she already had all of the stuff.
That's the best when it's something like that because you like pull it together from stuff you just have hanging out in your plus like she was probably so excited because she never gets to wear that astronaut helmet like ever.
Right. Yeah. Who gets
I know how this feels. I have plenty of like costume pieces I never get to wear or we never get to wear the warm weather gear like we got to this year. Yeah. It's always so much fun. And then when you get recognized on top of it, it's like
right. Yes. It like made her whole night. Yesterday Doug was texting in the group chat and he was like, she's still talking about it.
I don't blame her.
Me either. No, it's funny. Behind us was this little boy. I don't know, maybe 5 years old. And so during intermission, he wanted to look at it. So she was like, well, put it on. So he put it on and she showed him how to lift up the
visor.
Yes, thank you. I was like, what does that work? But yeah, she did it. And so she flipped it up for him and he put it right back down. So it was very cute though. He enjoyed it, I think. I think he enjoyed it as much as Kat did. So
worth it.
Yes,
and people will pay attention next time because there was like a contest and people
I don't think I can say, but I have a heads up on what the theme is because I was like, because Darius said something on Twitter like when he first announced this theme, and I was like, I'm trying to figure. I was like, I was like, I need to have time to if I've got to order something, like I need time because I was like, and he told me the theme, and I was like, this is not the theme I was expecting. And I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to pull this one off. I was like, might have to sit out dressing this one up. We'll see. We'll see what you
can. I mean, you can tell me off air, and I can throw out ideas.
There we go. Okay,
you got
that. It's not cheating.
You've got a Rennie as your friend. Tap this.
This is correct. You were correct about that. I will tell you off air.
And then I've got Bob to bounce it off of. So
there we go. Okay.
I mean, between theater and hardcore Ren Fair,
right?
You got the inside.
Okay. That is, yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out because I'll tell you what this theme is.
You know, I mean,
I don't know how soon they're.
my
I don't know how
DMs are
soon they're
always
announced.
open for you, girl. You know it.
I
And not
appreciate
in a
that.
like weird or cringy way. Like
Yeah.
totally in a friendly, like with your garb and gear kind of way.
Yeah, Nikki did. I forgot she pointed this out. She said this guy told us that we really did that. It was nice to hear, but he looked great himself. Yes, he did. Because we were complimenting each other. He was like, "You guys really did that," and I was like, "Well, thank you. That just
I like you. There's something to be said for Bob and I will do matching stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the year that my mother-in-law gave us the little bit of the bubbly.
Mm-hmm.
We took that picture that's on I'm sure you guys have seen it, but we did it in the matching pajamas and held up the little bit of bubbly. Yeah. And they were like ridiculous looking. They were like the most ridiculous PJs ever. And Jericho actually, of course, but he retweeted it and regrammed it. So
that's awesome.
Because we like to do offsetting stuff or matching stuff sometimes because depending on it, like for Christmas parties it's good, for things like that it's really good.
Yeah,
you're doing things together.
Like right.
It's a mated thing. It's either adjacent or like, it's fun. Right. It's so much fun too because it just takes everything to another. It just adds to the fun of the event for me. I mean, that just makes it more fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping now that people realize like there's a contest and they could win ticket. Like I'm hoping next time that they will, and especially because they've got a little bit of time because the next show is June 22nd. So we know that for sure.
I'm glad Kat pushed it just because people will remember that because people like free stuff.
Yeah, right.
They remember free stuff. Trust me.
Yes, we actually were talking about that. I was talking with someone else about how wrestling fans love free stuff, especially if it's
everyone loves free stuff. I'll tell you here, quick story. So total tangent here, but back when I was doing the soccer company, one of the things I came across from my promotions guy was they had little soccer ball stress balls.
Oh, nice!
And you could put your logo just right on them.
Right.
I was like, we've got to have these. People will love these. And we were pushing hard. I was pushing hard to get us into conventions and go to vendor shows so that we could sell the product around. Mm-hmm. And I was like, trust me. And we bought these things and could not we barely came home with any. And the company was so like impressed with it that when they started doing it in California, they took it to the first show that they went to in California. Because I did this in Washington. State because I did it for my region first.
Right.
I convinced them to buy this. I was like, trust me. We bought these pens and these soccer balls. People were throwing them around the convention hall during our convention, having such a blast. People were running up to our booth like, are you the guys giving away the soccer balls? Like, so they did it in California and had the same reaction, of course, because we were like, trust us. And this was before we even like had the reaction that we had and then had that to draw on. Mm-hmm. After that first convention that they went to, the first vendor show they went to, they started buying those things like in truckloads to bring to everything. They were giving them away on fields. They were giving them away on.
Very smart.
Probably if I looked harder enough and we had more time, I probably have one hanging around. I'll show you guys one. But it's like, and it was like, I knew it, but it was like the absolute secure lesson back in like the early aughts, mid aughts, like people love free stuff and especially that kind of the gimmicky stuff.
Yeah.
Our pub has the chickens that you can fling.
Oh yeah.
Rubber chickens. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. They're like, we'll be full on chicken wars at the pub now.
That's fantastic.
I mean,
that's great.
And they have merchandising.
Oh, maybe one day we'll have some merch.
We will. we actually can. We'll talk about that on
we have. We've talked about this idea on and off, and then
but I have ways of. I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
I've been
another conversation we will have, and we will bring it to the people if they are interested in it.
We will. Because I know actually, I learned a ton.
I know you did. You did a lot of research a few months ago.
You know me. I love reading and learning, even if it's like the silliest thing in the world. When this commission shit came up this week, I was right in the midst of reading Irv Mushnick's book, Wrestling Babylon, and I was at the point where he was talking about commissions back in the day, and it made me laugh. No, they what
That shows you how
Oklahoma-
archaic this shit is.
Well, this is what I'm saying is he was calling it Babylonian and Byzantium back in the 80s. He wanted the you'd like this book because it's a compilation of all his journalism, and he is he's a fantastically hilarious narrative, and he takes wrestling to task in a good way. Like he was on top of the Vince thing way before anyone else.
That's awesome.
I got to it, but he was it happened to be in the section where he was talking about commissions, and they were on their way out.
Right.
And most places don't have them anymore, and they don't do the regulation. But literally what the Oklahoma people did this week was like proving a point that was like 30 years old that he was making in the book. And I was
well, and also
like, this guy called these commissions out back in the 50s.
Yeah, and St. Louis, where Dynasty is at today, they have a commission, and they do some, like, they ask women some really inappropriate, invasive questions. So that's and women have to be well, all wrestlers have to be licensed to compete in St. Louis.
All political bench shit.
It's they ask some inappropriate questions of women, and so they need to just get rid of commissions.
It's none of your business.
Yeah.
Irv makes that point in the book. He's like, notwithstanding that it's none of your business. I was just like, I love this dude. He is like, you and Nikki would both really enjoy because he's a journalist, and his voice and his narrative is amazing. He makes some references that even I don't get, but it's like great in the best way. Garrett actually, when the Iron Claw came out, I was reading tributes. I had got it from the library, and Carrie Von Erich was one of the ones that Dave picked for his first book. And so I was like, so I was reading through there, and he's like, don't forget to read Irv's Bruiser. It's called Irv's Crushing Blog or something like that. But you guys will know. Someone will probably pop it up. But I went over and started reading it. I was like, oh my gosh, I really love this guy's writing. So I went in my library. I was like, has he written a book? Yes, he's written this book. It's like I said, it's like I think it's from 2000 or 2001. But it's a compilation of everything he's been writing back to like the 70s.
Wow.
And the context, and even reading them sort of retrospectively with what's going on right now. Like I said, they were deregulating cable, and the commissions were an issue. And so he was writing on these two things, and they're happening like sort of the same stuff is happening right now. And so to read what he was talking about, it's like, this is like, you people need to go read history. Like,
history will teach you some things.
That's amazing.
Just learn how to not repeat history.
So I'm glad I read it this week, because I had such a frame of reference for how ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sure that's really cool to have that.
All corruption and politics.
Yeah.
Commissions, every single commission, everyone that's left can go pound. Like, just F off. All the way off. Because
all the way off.
You are corrupt, you are cartels, you are racist, you are sexist, and you are
transphobic, apparently, too.
And transphobic and antiquated AF. And you're a joke, because most of the things that like the one he was talking about was like trying to get people's blood pressure right. It's ridiculous. You'll like it. Yeah, we could go on forever.
Sounds very ridiculous.
Commissions are stupid. There's tons of proof going back more than 70 years. So
it's very outdated.
Not fuck Oklahoma, because I know that it's sometimes you live in a state and
that you can't
heartily disagree with politicking because it's difficult. So fuck that stupid commission in Oklahoma, and I hope that Tony doesn't go back there.
Whatever promotion, whatever local promotion is the one who pointed it out and started all that. This match. So when I was doing some research for the article that I wrote about it, I went to Cage Match first, because I was like, what was it? So then I went through my timed matches, because I timed it a week late, but I found it. It was a minute and like 2 minute, like 7-second match. 2 minutes. That's it. 2 minutes caused that warning. And and actually somebody I know was telling me they were at that show and he said they like rushed through the entrances on top of that because it was for an ROH taping. And so he was like, it was just complete bullshit. And I was like, but yeah, so 2 minutes of that was, yeah, I hope because on the one hand, like I don't want to punish the people of Oklahoma who have to deal with this shit and don't,
they can't control because they're not rich.
Choices without them. On the other hand, like running in that state, you don't want to bring money into the state, but you don't want to punish the fans. But also, it's wrestling, and I don't know how many lawmakers give a shit if a wrestling promotion does or does not run in their state. It may not be enough to not run. AEW not running may make some senators be like, okay, it's pro wrestling. I don't give a shit if they don't come here. So it may not do the intended. I don't know. It's not. I'm glad that they vocally have supported or publicly have supported Nyla, but they are going to have to. And that's why I asked the question. I was like, are you going to continue to run in Oklahoma or there's several other states that have bans on transgender athletes? Are you going to continue to run in these states? And if you are, will you book Nyla and deal with whatever the consequences are? Whether it's another warning, it's a fine. And he said that it's something they would have to consider, and they've got their 2024 schedule planned out. And so I don't know what that means. And, I'm sure Nyla can weigh in as well. And, maybe she doesn't want them to not run these states. I don't want to speak for her, but I hope that they do come to Nyla and ask her opinion on it because it affects her directly. And so, yeah, I don't know. They'll definitely keep an eye on it for sure. And then I will say briefly before we go back to the Ashe stuff, I had the chance to interview Nyla almost 4 years ago, November of this year, 4 years ago. And she was so kind, and she's just as hilarious as she is on Twitter. That's real. She's just a very funny person. She's very kind. She was just really engaging, and I really enjoyed speaking with her. And she's just a wonderful person, and I hate that she's had to deal with all of this this week. It's
it was nice to see the support, and my biggest concern here is like these commissions, they get paid by the promotions and by the events that come into town. Like they can do things like charge things like surety fees where it's like, you have to give me, it's the stuff where I know that WWE plays with this whole like you have to pay us to come to you thing, but that's what commissions used to do, and that's what the remaining they still turnbuckles. I mean, they tack on these ridiculous, weird like taxes. So Tony has to pay that state's commission money to run in that state. And that says everything about where your actual support lies, because not every state, I mean, you're still going to have to pay to run and do all these things, and there's venue fees and whatever, but that government entity, that body is paid by you when you play that location. So you're supporting them monetarily when you're playing venues because your sport is regulated by it.
Right.
So that, I mean, that's for me, like there's that sort of like macro reality of you have to pay that commission money because it exists, and they mostly exist to extort money out of event runners. So and
Nikki said that she creeped in the background for the interview, and you can tell she's a really awesome person.
I love you, Nikki. You're so awesome. You're like that, like special, like you're the like in the background. She's like your thief. She's like she lurks in the shadows.
She does. And sometimes she helps me with the media calls if she's in the room, because I'll be like, sometimes I'm typing and I'll like I'll stop and I'm like, and I'll have to like, especially if there's like a type and I'm like trying to fix something, like, wait, what did he say? And Nikki was like, oh, he said this, or she's like, I don't know, I wasn't listening. So Sometimes, but no, she usually can help me. And Brad says, I met Nyla at a convention a couple years back. She's tremendous. One of the most entertaining people I've ever met. Yeah,
you have to go so far out of your way to make an issue about this, that there's nothing that these people in so-called leadership positions have that's more important in their world than this.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, no offense to your home state, Kevin, I love you, but what the hell? Like, and I know you don't agree with this either, but
right.
Like, they have that would piss me off as a taxpayer, that they are like, that my money and time can be better spent.
Well, and and that's the thing that we, I mentioned in the article I wrote the other day, it is an election year, and so this could be happening in more states.
Yeah,
so
this is
something
scary.
we're really
It's
going to have to get. It's already
what's
happening
going
in
on.
in Tennessee, and I forget, there's like I think there's one or two other states, and there are people who have it on their, they're getting to it. They're trying to pass these things. So this could potentially be way more than like just a few states. This may be a thing that happens, unfortunately, in many more states. And so this is something that could be an ongoing issue, and hopefully it's not, but it's something that has to be considered. And then and actually, so on Friday at Ashe, I was able to interview some people, and Kiera Hogan was one of the women that I got to interview. And we were talking about some other stuff, but then that led into the conversation about Nyla. And she was just like, she was like, it's really disappointing, because she was like, it's made us angry. Because I asked her, I was like, how does a locker room handle that when somebody in your locker room that you love and you enjoy working with? And she was just like, it was really disrespectful, and it was hurtful to her. And she was like, she had, of course, nothing but great things to say about Nyla. And she was like, it was disappointing, and it pissed me off. It pissed off everybody. And she's like, Nyla doesn't deserve that. Nyla's just trying to entertain people. And so I'll have the full interview later, but it was just, I'm glad I got to speak to her about it, just to get somebody's perspective, from somebody who's directly in the locker room with Nyla. And so we talked about that. And so I got to interview, a few people. I got to talk to Rayhan Antaeus, who I've known for a few years. He's wrestled here locally under a different name. He was Montana Black at the time. But yeah, I got to sit down with him, and he was great. He was on the very first show, as he wrestled as part of Team North Carolina. On the last show, he came out with Yaya, and then Friday, if you watch, they did an interview segment with him and Yaya and Swole. And if you watch the show, you probably heard part of the theme song that he has helped create. He has this new gimmick called Cream Pie Poppy. I asked him about that, talked about where that came from, what it is exactly, and it's really fascinating, and I appreciate it even more now that I know the story behind it. And so I'm going to post I'll get that in the interview. I can't wait
to see that. I'm like, I saw that you had all those interviews. This when you posted, I was like, oh
yeah. And so I got Kiera. I got to speak to Kevin Knight. We talked about BOS. Yeah, we talked about him preparing for BOSJ, and we talked about the TNA locker room now without Motor City Machine Guns and Scott D'Amore, and like how that changes everything, and just being mentored by Motor City and Kushida and that. So like, we had a really great conversation. He was really great. And then I also after the show, I got to interview Tootie Lynn, and she was great. And so those interviews will be coming soon. I kind of played myself a little bit, because the longer the interviews are, the longer it takes to transcribe. And Nikki told me, she was like, your interview with Rayhan was like 12 minutes. And I was like, what? It felt like I talked to him for 5 minutes. Like, it did not. And then I think the one with Kevin is about the same length. It's like 10 minutes or something like that. They were all really great, and I really appreciate Chris Lee setting up all those interviews for me. They were wonderful.
So great that they're doing that stuff for you, and that you
it's
that's
incredible.
A lot of time that they gave you.
I'm so grateful that the wrestlers, because it's before the show, some of them is before the show, and they've got they got a show to prepare for.
Right.
And they still gave me their time. And then even Tootie, speaking to her after the show, after she's wrestled, she's probably I know she's super tired, and for her to give me her time, like I appreciate all of them so much. They gave me really great stuff, and I'm looking forward to all these interviews and trying to get them out. I don't know, and because of my schedule with writing and things like that, it's a little hard to figure out how. I was just telling Nikki that yesterday. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to start transcribing these things. Like it might just be in little doses, and I'm trying to figure out like because I was like, well, obviously I want to get the Kevin Knight one out before BOSJ because we talked about it.
Oh yeah, right.
But Kiera has the topical stuff about Nyla, so I want to get that out. So, and then the Rayhan and the 2D interviews were great too, and they were wonderful people. And Nikki did. She said she told Kevin Knight that she loves Yo. He talked about how funny he is because we were talking about how Yo is injured and is no longer competing in BOSJ, and we found out Thursday morning Kushida will be replacing Yo, and so we talked about Kevin Knight and Kushida are tag team partners. They are the intergalactic, I think it's intergalactic jet setters, I believe is what they call
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about him being in there, and this is Kevin's second BOSJ, and so now he's kind of got that under his belt, and he was surprised. I think he was a little surprised. I don't think he thought that Nikki and I watched New Japan, so I was like, she and I love BOSJ, and he was like, really? And I was like, yes. I was like, BOSJ
that must have made him so happy.
Yeah. And then what was really great is he even because I talked to him a little bit at the first Ashe show and the media stuff before Aja Kong and Trish and Kiera were in there, and he was like, "Didn't I meet you before?" And he's like, and I was like, "Yeah, the first show." He's like, "I knew I recognized you too." And so I was like, "That's really cool." And so, and then, and I do have to say, that Chris did something really nice. He gave me and Nikki a card. It was a sympathy card, and he had a lot of the Ashe family and some of the wrestlers signed the card for us, and it was very kind and very sweet, and not something that Nikki or I expected, and it was very lovely. And I told him a couple of times, I told him thank you then and then again that night. I was like, that was so kind, and I can't believe that you put in the effort to do that, and I really appreciate that. And so it made me feel like part of the Ashe family, and it was really nice, and it was a very lovely thing. And I've got it in the living room and next to Sunny's program from her celebration of life service. It was really nice to have that and to have their support, and that was very kind of them. So I wasn't sure if I should post it because I was like, I don't know, that might be, I don't want to I was like, it's a little, not that it's private, but I was like, I don't want to make them, I was like, I don't know if that would make them feel weird. So I was like, I'll just mention it. And I was like, but yeah, it was a really kind gesture, and I really, really appreciate that.
That's why I love doing the show with you, and that's why I love the way that we handle our show, and that we don't we're not one of these shows that's out there, because that right there is exactly what the wrestling community and the real vibe of going to shows and following wrestlers through their careers and going to do this stuff and watching these shows together and talking about them like this. That is one of those moments where it's like, this is my family, this is my community.
It is.
Community is what keeps us sane. It's what keeps us together. It helps us to heal and to remember. And
yeah. And that's what I was actually thinking about.
God, I love you, Ash. There's a big hug to Darius for starting the whole, for having the whole thing, and everyone for loving Darius so much, and him being great, and his family being great, and thank you.
And I was actually thinking about that this morning, about community and getting where community is and how much community is needed for everybody. We all need community and different. Yeah, it does matter. And
that's what matters. Stop being a troll. Stop being a jerk. Don't go on. Don't be negative, because that's what really matters. Is that right there?
Yeah. It really.
Those hugs and those sentiments and those people caring. About you and thinking about you. That's a legacy, and that's amazing.
It is. I was really it was I was so unexpected, and he handed it to me right before one of my interviews that I did. So I didn't open it. I waited because I was like, I don't want to. And so I was waiting in between a couple of interviews, and Nikki and I read it, and then I took it after I took it out to the car because I was like, I don't want it to get messed up before the show. I don't want to accidentally step on it or somebody steal something. I was like, Nikki was like, let's take that to the car so that that nothing happens to it. So it was really thoughtful, and I think Nikki thought it was the same thing. So that it was very lovely. And so Ashe has good people. And so
I have purchased the show. I have not had a chance to watch it because Bob literally got back like at the time it was.
that's quite all right.
I will always support their shows.
You can, if you want to watch, like if you missed it and you want to get the live stream,
the replay's on there.
Yeah, you can go to the replay. You can purchase the replay on AsheWrestling.com. And the money still obviously helps them. That's a huge help for them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't. For me, it's like even if I never watched it, I would buy it anyway because it's under $20. They're giving it to a good cause. It's getting this amazing thing going. And I mean, come on. Like there's so much good stuff but like that is so for what you're getting, that's nothing.
Yeah, it is.
And it's essentially to me, it's a donation and an investment. It's an investment in the future of a really great wrestling situation. And it's obviously a donation to whatever they're working on for that particular night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's the vibe of the whole thing is.
Right. And it helps that, and it helped like even if you were to purchase the live stream, that still helps them, and that helps them to pay their talent and pay people and gets them set for the next show that's coming up. We've got 2 months from tomorrow. And so, I'm really looking forward to it. And they set up, I won't give anything away if you haven't seen the show yet, but they did do some things that they set up several things for the next show. They set up like 3 or 4 matches, I think, for the next show, and they tease someone who's coming in. Nikki and I have seen them on GCW a couple of times, and then they said there was a big angle later on in the show that's going to carry over into the next one. So it's really cool that they set up into they did like it. I do, because Darius asked, he was like, do you like that we set up storylines or do you want just random matches? And I was like, I like a balance of both. Like I like that there's story, like there's stuff that happened on in this show that goes back to the first show, like because in the first show Kiera cheated to beat Charity, right. And so she wrestled Charity's partner Danny on this show, and actually asked Kiera about that match. I was like, there's a little bit of controversy around your win. I said, what do you have to say about that? And she's like, well, the ref didn't see it and the fans don't matter, so I don't care. I was like, well, fair enough. Speaking of the King Bees, I saw that they won the Mission Pro Wrestling Tag Team titles last night. So they have those titles, and they're still the NWA World Tag Team Champions as well. So Danny was not wrong when she said 2024 was going to be the year of the King Bees, because now they hold tag team titles in 2 different companies. So that's awesome. So I love those. They were wonderful people, and I got to interview them the last time. So I meant to post my interviews again the day of the show, and I didn't remember until like 4:00. And I told Nikki, I was like, I might just start a thread of like all my Ashe interviews, and just every time there's an Ashe show, just post the thread, just add to it as we go, because
and we will obviously post or retweet that from our Powerbomb.
Yeah, and it's fun talking to them and just getting perspectives on things, especially with Ashe being a platform that's unlike a lot of other places out there, and it's giving a voice to a lot of people who wouldn't normally have them. And so to talk to them and to give them a platform is really cool. And I think I'll talk to you about this later, but I believe that I talked to somebody who I believe wants to come onto the show. Yay. So I think we have a future guest. We're just gonna get it figured out. But yes, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I love having good stuff. So if you want to go check them out, make sure you follow them here. They're always putting out content on YouTube and their social media pages where you can kind of get to know the wrestlers and stuff like that, and which is really cool. They do like a top 5. They ask them like a question. It's like your top 5 wrestlers. They do a thing called What's in My Bag, and it's like what they always carry with them to shows, and they do all kinds of cool stuff. That's like fun. That. They do like that. They think they did like top 5 TV dads or something like that. Like they always do these like fun little things. And then of course they've got their promos that they set up for the next show and all that stuff. So they got some good content. And it's a 1-person show, kind of like Darius runs all the social media. Darius runs the YouTube. I mean, of course, he's got people helping him film and things like that. But as far as like running the social media side of it, it's just Darius. He's running it. Ooh, I like that. Brad said, I think Darius needs to get in touch with RuPaul and do an sachet cover, a crossover. That would be fantastic. We actually talked a little bit about the For the Culture crossover and how like that's giving them a bigger that's helping people find out about Ashe to tie that in. And they do, because Darius was on our show and we talked about it then, and he eventually wants to travel with Ashe and bring it to other places, and so getting it in like places like For the Culture, which is part of the Collective, which obviously the Collective is outside of WrestleMania. The Collective is the biggest thing going WrestleMania weekend. And so to get exposure that weekend is huge. And so that can help them obviously in the future whenever they get to the point where they can start traveling around with it, which would be awesome. Because they do need to get that to the in front of all kinds of people. I think
it'd be so good. You've gotten me to the point now where it's everything but Mania on WrestleMania weekend for me.
Yeah.
I look forward to everything that comes with WrestleMania weekend more than I even care about WrestleMania, because I don't watch the product the most of the rest of the year, and I understand it's like, but I'm more invested in the actual Super Bowl, even if I'm not following an NFL team, than I am in WrestleMania, even though it's on the same level in terms of those things.
Right.
But I am so much more excited, like, it's Bloodsport Day.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and all the other things that we've gotten to watch that you got me into, the For the Culture shows, the weird Joey Janela and Madness.
Yes.
It's great. Fun. I've got, I canceled my thing, but I've got it till May something because
nice
a month. So I was like, I've just been looking at them. Like,
well, and I was just telling Nikki last night. I was like, we still haven't watched Effie's Big Gay Brunch. I was like, we've got to get to that. I was like, I still have to watch the DDT show. I was like, I still have like 3 shows from the Collective to watch I was like, we got to find some time for it. And I haven't even watched. Unfortunately, I missed last week's ROH because I had an eyebrow appointment, and we went and we went to Ulta and spent way too much time in Ulta. So I was like,
you need to pamper yourself once in a while.
That is true. That is true. So, but I gotta get
yourself.
Oh yeah, and Nikki said, and Defy. Yes, we need to watch the Defy show from.
Whoops, and Defy. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. But speaking of all this great wrestling, I guess it's time to get to why probably most people are here. It's for the pre-show of AEW Dynasty. And also I have it bookmarked, but I meant to send
me a screenshot,
the Claudio screenshot so we can post it on the screen, and I forgot to. However, I will read you if you guys missed it. Claudio posted, yes, here we go. He posted, it was for his match with Will Ospreay this week. But Claudio says the word dynasty, pronounced dynasty, comes from the Greek word dynastia, I think is how you pronounce it, or dynastia, meaning power, lordship, and sovereignty. That, my friends, is the Blackpool Combat Club. So Nikki says that Claudio watched the show and he is an honorary bride.
I agree with Nikki. I retweeted that. It's official. So, I mean, we all know that Twitter is real life or X or whatever. And that Nikki has the power to endorse honorary broads because she's broad
this situation,
adjacent.
Have to.
So when she's definitely allowed, and when it's something like that, that's an emergency, and Nikki needs.
It is an emergency.
So I've quote tweeted it, and so it's been passed and audio.
So Claudia,
I forgot. I really wanted to do this and totally forgot. I was gonna get a black T-shirt and just get some tape and put Death Jitsu on my shirt because I have the tape that you can do it with, and it looks like that to me a little bit, and it would have been funny. I was even gonna spell it like DETH, but someday. But it just, I was like, that is so awesome, and so now once you said it, it got into my head anyway. But now it's just Dynasty, and if Sam, I don't know if you can see it on there, but I called the slideshow that I made AEW Dynasty.
fantastic. It does not show me that, but I'm so glad that it's in there.
It's so funny. So even the slideshow that when I named our slideshow for our pictures today, it says DYNASTY. That was
perfect.
So it's in my Google Drive. I mean,
yeah,
it's out there, guys.
Like
it's
I said last
official.
week, you're welcome or I'm sorry, except I'm not really sorry.
You know what? Never apologize for making people enjoy themselves.
This is true.
And if you can't laugh at that, then we can't help you.
You're in the wrong place.
We have no help for you. I'm really sorry.
You're in the wrong place. Sorry about it.
There's lots of negative spaces for you to enjoy.
Yeah, not here. I mean, we will talk about some negative things, but yeah, we try to keep it. We try to keep it on the positive. And so we will get to so 0 hour looks like it's just gonna be the three matches that have already announced, unless Tony decides to announce something in the middle of the show, which is possible. So yes, we've got this pre-show. We've got Trent Beretta versus Matt Sydal. Matt Sydal is a St. Louis native, and then we know that Trent is having some issues apparently. With I guess he's a bad guy now. He's a heel, and it was funny because
he's a renegade.
He was tweeting about how he was tweeting about Matt Sydal and how they've known each other since FCW and all this stuff. And Sue quote tweeted it and was like, "You be nice to him, Greggy." And Matt responded and said he's been quite rude, actually.
I love Sue so much.
She's the best. I love her.
I love that Sue can be Sue. I love that can even be a thing. It's so great.
Sue, you are disappointing. And that's what I said when Trent turned on Orange. I was like, right in front of your mother, right in front of Sue. How dare you?
After all the things she's done for you.
I know.
He must. I mean, in a way, though, what's cool about that is it made it real, because it's like, oh my god, he did it in front of Sue. He's really serious.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And Nikki said he's going through some things apparently. Brad poses an interesting question. Why am I picturing Sue doing a heel turn, coming out with pink hair and a leather jacket?
That would be adorable.
I would love that.
She's just mad at him.
I will never boo Sue. So if Sue comes out as a heel, I will cheer for her still.
She's mad at Trent, so she comes out as a heel and
beats him up.
Yeah.
Puts him on restriction.
She's like, I carried you in my womb for 9 months, boy. Yeah, yes. Whatever, stuff like that.
And now we don't know. Kind of, Chucky is going through an existential crisis. We don't know if he I think
it's in the water.
They tease the hill turn with Chucky because he made you think he was going to come up on Orange. Then he blocked Trent, but then he walks back off and. Trent said something to Stat in her ear. I still think that Stat is involved with the Mercedes Moné attack. I feel like everybody is turning heel in this group except Orange. I think that we're getting a heel best friend, except for I don't know if this. I guess best friends without Orange Cassidy. I guess. Oh, this is true. Sean says Trent's heel turn has been telegraphed since he eliminated Danhausen from the Battle Royal. I'd forgotten about that, but you were right, because yes, that is right. Oh, see, I'm glad you pointed that out because I had completely forgotten about that.
Why we love that you guys are here.
Yes. Yeah, so my feeling is everybody but Orange is turning. I feel like they're all.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at too. This might be the big breakup,
which I think heel best friends could be fun. Yeah. They haven't really they've been heel before elsewhere, but it's not something we've seen in a while. And I think that they could do it the way they've done it. I think has been good so far. Brad says, as long as Chucky can come back and yell at little kids like he did on the Indies, I'm all for it. I mean, he has to. I mean, that's definitely one way to make sure that Chucky is heel is let him yell at the little kids.
Plus, I mean, those kids learn early what they're into. So
right. I mean, perhaps we get the heel turn. Maybe we get heel Chucky tonight. Maybe Chucky helps.
Maybe he'll scream at a kid tonight.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will he will help Trent beat Matt Sydal, because unfortunately I think Matt's gonna lose in his hometown. Poor Matt Sydal. Yeah. But I feel like that's where that's going.
Yeah, it'll be a good match though. They'll give a good match.
Matt Sydal
I mean, these two are really
Matt
good.
Sydal is criminally underrated. I
serious.
was a huge Evan Bourne fan. I love Matt Sydal and I love what he still does, and I love seeing him in ROH. Yeah, I love Matt Sydal. So, but unfortunately, I think he's taking the L tonight.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah. Trent, disappointing your mother like that.
I know.
What do we got here? Speaking of Orange Cassidy, did I do that right?
Yes, you did. All right. So we have Orange Cassidy and Katsuyori Shibata versus Shane Taylor Promotions with Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. I assume Anthony Ogogo will be out there as well because he is the newest member of Shane Taylor Promotions.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So this match I think will be fun just because, and they've been having, all of them have been having a little bit of a story. Lee Moriarty pinned Shibata during the tag match to last week's Dynamite, and then it was Lee versus Shibata on Collision last week, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly.
I'm going to go with your memory because I know all of this happened, but there's no way I'm going to remember which order.
But yeah, so this should be it's an interesting match. Hold on, these comments over here from cracking me up.
I can move in.
Brad says Matt winning and getting a post-match beatdown won't do anything negative to Trent's push. That's true. That's a very good point. So maybe they do let him get the hometown win and then Trent just beats his ass afterwards. And that'll be the other thing. Will Orange come? Well, and I guess depending on the order of this, do they do this match first and then have Chucky come out with Orange and then Chucky and Trent turn? Or Chucky turns with Trent? Or does Chucky not come out for Orange Cassidy at all and then not come out with Trent either and then just show up in the post-match beatdown? And Sean says, apparently Trent doesn't share the homemade cookies that Sue sends to AEW with him. He's so greedy and rude. I mean, I guess I can understand not sharing her cookies, but she makes them for everybody. Trent, don't keep them all for yourself.
A lot of cookies usually. I think that's a little selfish there, brother.
That's very selfish. Brad said, yes, Lee pinned Shibata in the Jericho hook match, then Shibata beat Lee on Collision last week. Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So I think this will be a fun match. I really enjoy all four people very much. I love obviously Shibata and Orange Cassidy, but I love Shane Taylor Promotions. If you've watched this show, you know that I've loved Shane Taylor for a very long time. I was already a fan of Lee Moriarty. Putting them together makes so much sense. I like them adding Anthony Ogogo to it. It makes sense with because I think we mentioned it before when he joined. I think it's because it's boxing, jiu-jitsu, and there's something else that they each have a background in, and they're kind of bringing it together to have almost like a Blackpool Combat Club type of thing where they all have like something that they excel out in martial arts as well as wrestling, which I think is a really cool thing. So I think that will be fun. Oh, David says my brothers are going to Dynasty tonight. I was gonna go, but I began a new career at the beginning of the month and don't get paid until the end of this month. I hear you, and congrats on the new career. That's amazing. And sometimes we have to make grown-up decisions, which are no fun. So I completely understand.
No, it sucks. But at least we can enjoy this together. And, you can live vicariously through them. Just tell them to take good pictures or whatever if they can.
Right.
Totally hear that, though. But
so
I made the right choice.
Right. And I guess I assume that Orange and Shibata get
that's my assumption too. I like that they have been featuring Shane Taylor Productions and Lee Moriarty more because I know how much you love them, and they've actually been delivering on the television, and
they have. You've
been like singing their praises forever, and they've had a few Shane Taylor matches here and there, and they've had a few Lee Moriarty matches here and there where he's actually wrestled he wrestled Kenny. I mean, people, it was going to ruin Kenny's career to potentially job to him. So whatever. But
just like ruin his career when he wrestled Alan Angels, who is now the Prestige World Champion, by the way.
So yeah, it was terrible for both of them. It was so horrible.
Just ruined it.
What? But yeah, no, I think it's gonna be fun. I love what Shibata is doing. I love that gimmick. the thing with the translator gets me
It's
every time.
It's perfect. Like, I don't think most people could not pull that off and not look like an idiot, but Shibata,
because he's an ass kicker and no one's gonna like mess with him. If that's the way that he chooses to, he's such a badass that if that's how he's gonna communicate, even though it's like the silliest, like funniest thing ever, but it does work. Him and Orange Cassidy works because that's Orange Cassidy does his gimmick too. Like he does, when no one else would be able. And it makes it to the point where it's like pissed people. Oh, that guy never gonna. Guys, he's like one of the biggest stars ever. So it's weird. I mean, how weird is it that these guys are on 0 Hour? Like this is kind of a packed pay-per-view when you consider.
And I have to remind myself
to start the show, but
and I have to remind, because I do hate some of the, it is the pre-show, but then on the other hand, Tony tries to promote it as it's all one thing. Like, just because you're on the pre-show doesn't mean that you're not good. Like they don't do it because WWE trained a lot of people to not care about the pre-show. That it's just filler stuff. Where for the most part, Tony tries to make it compelling enough that once you watch this show, you will purchase the pay-per-view. And like, he tries not to put throwaway matches. So, and yes, I fuss when women get put on there for obvious reasons, because a lot of times women are delegated just to pre-shows and in places that don't matter. But overall, I feel like for the most part, Tony tries to make the pre-show in part of it, that it's the entire, it encompasses all of it. Like, this is to get you hyped for, that stuff. So I think that, and like you said, but this card is so packed that this is a pre-show
this is
match.
a 0 Hour
this would
match.
This would like main event Collision. Like, this is a TV show main event.
You've got like Shibata and Orange Cassidy teamed together, like just in a match. I know they've wrestled each other already and all these other things, but it's just I've just been staring at this graphic going, wow, this show is kind of stacked if this is where we're starting.
Right. And that brings me back to something that on the media call, somebody was like, you have this show on Sunday without your big stars like Maxwell Jacob Friedman, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter. But Tony was like, but that shows you the depth of our locker room, that we are having this card with this many, like, we've got Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada are on this card. Bryan Danielson, the Elite, like all these people are on this card, and that's without 3 big names like that. So that's like, that's huge. And that does.
I dare say this is the best build that they have done in their entire history. It's almost everything has a storyline going into it. They had the main event weeks ago. For the first time in a really long time. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since they let us know that this was going to be the main event for this pay-per-view.
Right. Yeah.
Or at least that this big, not the main event, but that Danielson and Will were going to be on the card. Yeah. And that's a huge match. So regardless.
Yeah. And that match would main event any pay-per-view anywhere. Like, that's incredible though, to show you, and that shows you the depth of everything. And yes, and I do too. I also miss Lee Moriarty's theme, and they only play. I miss that very much. And thank you for the very nice compliment, David.
Thanks, David.
And Brad said, I'm interested in this one. STP could use another big one for sure, but Orange is incredibly protected. Okay. Yes. Agreed.
I think they're going somewhere with it, so that's. I mean, at least we can.
Maybe Chucky interferes here. Maybe Chucky helps beat down Matt Sydal, and then he comes out here and costs Orange Cassidy the win. I mean, it could be. Chucky is definitely a wild card in this. I think.
Maybe 0 Hour is the reorganization of Chaos and Best Friends into some new organization.
Ooh, that is a very good point.
The whole, because these guys coming up after these guys.
Yeah, and so Brad said that the new 30 minutes added to the start of the pre-show is the part that doesn't matter. Once 0 Hour starts, everything matters, and I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
And David said he actually played Evolution completely with Google Play points. That's awesome.
Nice.
That's very cool. Sean says Tony uses 0 hour to lure in potential viewers and recap feud, where in WWE's pre-shows are now talking heads and recaps, no matches, and continue to do them in the obligation to Facebook and YouTube. Yeah.
They totally resemble like a pre-show for a football game or a basketball game or a bunch of BS. Like they remind me of College Game Day is what they remind me of.
Yeah, they definitely have that feel. For sure.
You know, where it's like all the fans are screaming and everybody's in the background with their signs and their thingies and they're waiting for Lee Corso to put on whatever hat. And it's just like,
right. Yeah. And David says, yeah, the thing that sucks for me missing that is that Will and Brian are my favorite contemporary wrestlers, and that it really is a dream match. Arena is 63 miles from my front door. It stings. I bet it does, David. I'm definitely sorry that you're having to miss that. It's rough.
Look at it this way. I bet you something else will come around because we're in a great time. Like, yeah, you'll be bummed right now, but the new career and whatever comes to you that will eventually come to you, you'll be like, you know what? I feel good. Like maybe you'll get Okada Omega or something.
That would be awesome.
I mean, you never know. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, and Hassan points us out that last year All In had a mixture of matches in the studio talking heads, and I like that for Wembley. Yeah, I think for the Wembley presentation that was really cool, and they had Kip Sabian, who is from the UK, and they had, so that was cool. And yeah, I did like that. I'm glad they don't do it every time, but I do like the way they handled it because I feel like because All In was such a big deal that they changed the presentation somewhat, and I think it worked.
And I think you can do case basis too.
And I think they could do it again. They could do it for All In again this year. I think it would be really awesome if they did that.
It's like big shows like Double or Nothing or All In or All Out or All In. Those are like big shows. Those are like super fancy mega shows. Like so cool. But I did move on to the next one because
that's fine. I was gonna say because we do have one title match on Zero Hour. We have it's the Acclaimed versus Bullet Club Gold. It is winner takes all, and Tony did confirm on the media call that the titles will be unified between the AEW Trios title and the ROH 6-man titles, which I generally don't care for unifications of titles, but I think in this case it's the best thing because the 6-man titles were never really defended on. I mean, I will take that back. The Mogul Embassy or the Embassy had the titles for a while, and they were back and forth between ROH and AEW. They actually did it correctly if that's how you're going to do it. But Bullet Club Gold didn't know how to get to ROH until they had to go to Philadelphia when they were like, oh, okay, this is where Supercard is.
Well,
okay,
that's where you find it.
That's how you get here. Okay, and then the Acclaimed was like, oh, really? And they follow them in and beat them up after the match and continuing this stupid feud. And I hate this feud and I hope it's over. And I like both teams. The Acclaimed has cooled off for me a lot. Most of it's because of Max Caster and the things that he does. And I kind of want, they have so much chemistry together, but Anthony Bowens is so good. And I would love to see Anthony Bowens in a singles run. I don't know if potentially losing these titles could open that up for him, or if that's just not something they're going to do anytime soon. But the Acclaimed have had these titles since Wembley. That's how long they've had these titles.
That's it. Wow, I didn't think about that.
I was doing the other night I was writing an article about how this was for that was going to be a title unification. And so I was looking back at the history of the AEW Trios because this title is still fairly new. Like the titles were created with the purpose of going on the Elite they waited until Kenny Omega was healed, brought him back, win the titles, Brawl Out happens. They held them for 3 days, then they were stripped of them. So then that night it was Death Triangle versus Best Friends and Orange Cassidy, and Death Triangle won, and they held it. I think it was only for 53 days or something. Yeah, it was 53 days because they did the best of 7 series match with the Young Bucks and then the Elite won the titles at the Escalera de la Muerte match. They won them back, and then House of Black won them, and then House of Black held them until Wembley, and the Acclaimed won them, and the Acclaimed have held them ever since. So,
wow.
Yeah, which is insane. But I feel like, so it's really interesting that I feel like with this situation, it's probably the best thing because the six man I was hoping would go on Top Flight and Action Andretti and ROH because they've been a trios for a while. Each time that a member of Top Flight has gotten hurt, Action Andretti has stepped right up and has filled that role for them. They've wrestled as trios many times. They would be perfect for the six man. Since they're getting rid of that, they would still be perfect for the trio. So I hope at some point they do get the trios titles, no matter regardless of who wins tonight. But we have some comments over here about it. Let's see. David says that, what would you think of the Elite forming a super alliance with the other heel factions? Bucks never severed ties with Cole, never had issues with Callis, and tried to get back with White-led Bullet Club. That's a really interesting thought that I had not really considered. It would be like a giant Bullet Club, basically, because
it would be because I mean you can tell that Will Ospreay's pissed off at them getting involved and screwing around, and because he wants to prove that he's as good as Danielson, not have them come out and make shenanigans during his legitimate matches.
Right.
So that's clearly going on. And then the Bucks, if the Bucks, depending on how things go down, if they end up with the belts, they could terrorize AEW and just pull people in from everywhere.
Yeah. And Cole's off TV now because he's not healing well. It's taking a long time, and they said him traveling was hindering that process, so they've pulled him off TV. I
mean, if they bring in the Motor City Machine Guns at some point, they could come in as a babyface faction to take on this Bucks-led heel madness.
They could potentially. I don't think they will. I think Motor City will be faces when they come in. However, they have been before they left TNA. They were hinting heel turns. Motor City on the Indies tend to be heels. Alex Shelley is a heel on the Indies. He's a heel everywhere, and he's fantastic at it. He's especially in Revolver, he's a very good heel. But they've been a heel tag team in other places, and so I think. So even that would be interesting. I do think they're coming in as baby faces. However, I could see a heel Motor City with them.
Because it would be like them coming in being like, you kids wouldn't even be on the TV if it wasn't for us.
Oh, I definitely think that's coming.
And
I think that's coming. I think it's from the baby face perspective, but they could make that the heel perspective.
They could do it either way. I mean,
they really could.
Fun about that could go either way, and it would be great. I mean, that's two mega heel things going on.
And also, Okada came in as a heel, and Okada and Motor City are also very close.
Right. Yeah.
Okada lived with Alex Shelley for a while when he was on excursion. They're still very close. They did the little bit of the TNA run before all that mess happened. And people say Okada cursed.
Okada cursed the TNA that the Bucks got onto TNA at all. I mean, it's because they just kept hammering the people there to bring them in.
Yeah, right.
Even though they brought them in as Jeremy
that story's coming into play, whether it's heel or babyface Motor City. I think that's coming into their story and why they're here. Brad says that he is a bit worried after last night the Acclaimed are winning tonight. I kind of thought that too, but that's also, I was like, I know that's also because WWE does a lot of that stuff, and AEW hadn't before, but now they kind of do both. Because WWE things like, okay, if this person wins, at the go home show, that means that the other person is winning at the pay-per-view. And they don't always do that, but here, this one I'm really undecided about what's going to happen here. I personally would have the Acclaim drop the titles. I feel like they've had the titles long enough. I feel like Bullet Club Gold I feel like Jay should be a singles wrestler, and I guess that would free him up. I guess it would free him up as well. So I'm kind of back and forth with it. And I do feel like the Bullet Club Gold, they just are really missing Juice Robinson. Like, he was like such a huge part of that, and he plays. Not that Jay is not good at being the funny person,
but
he plays so
it's
well.
The balance of the two.
Yes, he and Juice have so much great chemistry, and they play off of each other so well. And then it made the Guns play off of each other in the same way, where, you know, and so it was kind of. And so
they
I
were
feel
learning more because they were seeing something they could actually like emulate. Experience wise. And the reason that I tend to now that I'm thinking about it though, is they did even have them go back to, like, they did a rap for the first time in ages. So
because somebody said something inappropriate again, and that's why they had to pull him, because somebody can't keep his mouth shut. And so
this is like
and so his bit has gotten old and worn out. And so and he said something, and one of the things last night, he said something, I don't even remember now, and I rolled my eyes at it. So it was just like, but I feel like a lot of the fans have gotten cold on them, and I think they need to do something to revamp that. Sean says, with Bullet Club Gold standing tall and winning last night, the odds favor the Acclaim, but the tease of Caster and Bowens breaking up as well. Yes, for sure. And so maybe they win it here, and maybe something happens with the turn. And Sean says that he thinks Bullet Club Gold walks out the unified champs. Cool. Brad says, I think Caster needs to come off TV and find something new and fresh. His rap last night was not good. No, it wasn't. And I totally agree. They've got to do something else with him, because people have gotten real cold on him. They were real hot for a while, and it's just, it's wearing very thin. They need to.
You put that back. Sorry.
That's okay. David says, do you think Page's direction when he comes back is going to be reliant on Kenny Omega's health? I think it depends on what they're doing with him. And I think it also depends on if Swerve wins tonight. That could also have something to do with that. Sean says the Bucks never liked Callis, especially when he tried turning Kenny against them and dropping them. Yes, that is correct.
Callis is Callis, I mean.
Yeah, definitely. David says, the one faction I didn't mention was the patriarchy. I think they eventually steal away Killswitch and Nick Wayne too, and that leads to Bucks versus Cope and Cage at All Out. See, I feel like that's getting revisited at some point. We were trying to figure out how they were going to get Copeland and Cage together to be a tag team, because I think that's definitely happening. David mentions it's too many egos, all the hills in AEW to team together. That is very true. So very NWO like.
They could just call it ego. They could make ego stand for something and just call it that.
Yes. David says that in the Super Alliance, Shelley was also a mentor of White. Yes, when Jay White was a young lion, he was paired with them, and so there's a lot of little things. And like we mentioned before, Hangman's Page is Hangman. Nickname is Hangman because he choked Chris Sabin out with a rope in front of his family and friends in Detroit, and that's where the name Hangman came from. So there's
Detroit, the city that Tony won't bring his freaking.
He did say that they do want to bring some pay-per-views to new cities next year. Fingers crossed. Don't hold your breath. Motor City versus Young Bucks immediately after tonight. Debut them on Dynamite with the Bucks saying they have defeated every team in AEW and the greatest team of their generation. Yes, this is what I've been saying. The generation thing, and also it ties into the Generation Me name, and it comes into Motor City does not get their flowers, which we've talked about a lot. Because they were on a small network, and like even when I was talking to Kevin Knight, he said that he didn't have TNA, and so he didn't see he didn't see a lot of Motor City stuff because he didn't have access to TNA, and now they are his mentors. So like that's really so cool. And so a lot of wrestlers, and I feel like that's why we've talked about it many times about why they haven't gotten their flowers, and a lot of it is because they were not exposed to the same fans. Some fans, it's hard, kind of like ROH. I would have ROH and then I wouldn't. I would have TNA and then I wouldn't. And so it's definitely hard. And so that's why I'm glad to have them on.
The conjecture is between whether they're going to be there tonight or whether they're going to wait till Double or Nothing, which I actually was like bouncing off of John Muse because I legitimately was like, because when the Observer said that they were talking, I'm like, come on.
Body Slam reported first.
And it was, yes, I'm sorry. They reported
Body Slam was first, and they said that it was coming, but it was going to be delayed. I don't know if they're finishing up other commitments because I know
on the 1st of June, they're supposed to play the high
Yeah.
school that's 28
They
miles.
probably still will.
But
They
I
probably still
imagine,
will, but
I don't know. Tony loves to pull people off that.
well, I think that might be contingent. That might be part of them coming in as you let me do my indie dates.
Because
or
if they
that's-
did double or
because Motor
nothing,
City, listen, Motor City has got leverage. Even though they've never
Fair
been in
enough.
this company, they have enough leverage where I think they can say, these are our indie dates and we're going to do all of them. And so I don't know if Alex Shelley will continue to keep his indie, because I mean, Motor City does do indie dates, but Alex Shelley is wrestling usually somewhere every weekend. Like he's very busy.
Or he's at an event.
Yeah, he's always somewhere.
Always somewhere.
So I don't know, because they've already he's supposed to be wrestling Timothy Thatcher next month. He's got matches. He's Revolver's champion. He's champion at a couple other places. So I don't know if that's the delay as they're letting him
they're
finish
wrestling
up those
this
bookings.
group. The one near me, they're wrestling this local tag team called New Albania, I think they're called. And
nice.
then shortly after, the guy that owns the pub, he messaged me. They're booking a show that's going to be co-sponsored by this Bi-City Championship for the animal shelters, and they're doing it here right in my town in a place I walk by, right down. So I want to go on the 1st and then on the 15th because this promotion is essentially looks like they're building up and they're gonna play my town.
Very cool.
It was really cool. Everyone was in there because I actually went in there for the chili cook-off that I was at earlier.
Oh, nice.
It was in the same place, and they were all like, "How are they going to run a wrestling show in there?" And I was like, "Well, actually, there's a few ways they can do it,
right?
Because they have a stage and the way it's set up. Because I remember being in there going, you could totally run a wrestling show in here."
Yeah, you definitely could.
I was like,
especially because now I've been at a couple breweries and I'm like, okay, now I can see where it fits. So yeah, they can make it work. But yeah, so I don't know.
But anyway,
I originally thought
interesting to me because I know that Tony lets people honor their dates. It's just, I don't know.
I feel like with Motor City, they're big enough that he will let them do what they ask. I think if
this is a burgeoning promotion here in the area that I think that maybe, they've been on the promotion. It's 3 years old now, and they've done the promotion a few times now, so they must be behind it.
Yeah, and they actually the Motor City wrestled an indie show last night because that was how people found out they weren't going to be at Rebellion because the TNA pay-per-view was last night, and they were booked for this show, and that's when people started being like, "Why are they missing a pay-per-view?" And then it came out a week later that their contracts were up and they weren't planning to resign. And then they had the farewell. Then the locker room had the farewell party for them. And then I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but last Thursday was their final match in TNA. It was they wrestled Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards for the tag team titles again, and that was their final match. I haven't had a chance to get to it yet. So they have had their final match. They are completely done with TNA. Yep. All of that is done. And so technically they could show up tonight. That was that Mel and I had thrown that back and forth. Do they show up tonight at Dynasty? Do they show up next week on Dynamite? Do they wait till Double or Nothing, since Double or Nothing generally always has one big surprise,
enormous surprise?
But since it's a delay, are they coming even further than that? Are they
or later?
Is Alex Shelley finishing up all his dates? Is he dropping title? How is this gonna? I'm not as confident. I had my thought was they were coming tonight to challenge the Bucks. We'll get to that. But my thought was the Motor City was coming tonight to challenge them. But it also makes sense of the Bucks winning, them just spending weeks talking about how they're the
establishing
greatest of their
themselves as the greatest
and
thing
then
ever.
Motor City either shows up at Double or Nothing and does something, or they show up before then and the match is at Double or Nothing. But I don't think they'll do the match that fast. I feel like Motor City is going to get those titles at probably sooner rather than later. That obviously we'll get to. I don't want to. We'll get to that match because I want to give a we'll talk about that. But I think
we need to get.
I think there's a lot of moving parts with this story. And I want to get back to this. LaRon says the one good thing about the Acclaimed winning is that they will free up Jay White for a singles run. Yeah,
agree. hard agree. I would love to see
Yeah.
Jay Singles wrestle. That's what he should be doing. It's
Yes.
great putting him with other people to help him build other people, but Jay is a singles wrestler and needs to be in the singles division.
Yeah. Paige didn't do the Hangman gimmick in PWX that much though, because I think he was already established as Hangman before he started doing it. I want to say, if I remember my timelines right, because he was doing other stuff, because he was doing the Country Jack stuff for a little while, and I can't. So yeah, it's been a while since I've thought about that. Yes. Sean says, if anyone is willing to put Motor City on a pedestal and give them their flowers on a larger stage, this is the Bucks.
Well,
which is what we've been saying. Like, as soon as they became free agents, I was like, I feel like they're going to AEW for multiple reasons.
Alex
Shelley has a full-time job. Whether he stays doing it is another story. And I feel like this daytime job is not for money. It is because he genuinely likes helping people. And
I
think
too.
That's his thing.
But
I also feel like the Young Bucks were like, you helped us get on TV. Let us give you the big contract you've never had before. Let us literally pay you back for what you did for us. And I feel like that's where that's going. David says, after their feud with Motor City and the Bucks have beaten every team of their generation, then Copeland and Cage from the previous generation would be next. Yes. I had been hoping that we were getting Copeland and Cage versus the Hardys. I was hoping we were getting a that, but Matt Hardy didn't re-sign his AEW contract. He showed up at Rebellion last night and has restarted the Broken Matt character there. However, I did see something this morning saying that he has not signed a contract with them. So I guess I think
he tweeted that he's going to wrestle when he feels like it or something like that.
TNA has done a lot of, TNA has gone to the for a lot of people doing the per date or per appearance contracts, and so that's probably what he's doing. Possible. And will free him up for whatever. And then TNA had 3 returns last night. Like, I didn't watch it, but I was following it on my timeline. So Matt Hardy returned at the end.
I was following on my timeline. The show.
Sammy Callahan returned and helped Jordan Grace because a whole bunch of men decided to interfere in the women's match. So yay, it's just like early TNA shit. But so Sammy Callahan got involved there, but he helped Jordan to retain her title because other men got involved and were trying to make her lose her title. And then also earlier in the night, Steve Maclin said that he had been offered a new contract. They met all his demands, but he had one more demand, which was a match last night at Rebellion. And Mike Santana returned to TNA. Yeah. He is back. He has a t-shirt. He beat Steve Maclin. So I don't know if Steve Maclin re-signed that contract. I don't know if he signed that contract. I never did hear for sure. I need to hear what Mike Gilbert has to say about all this. I was just going to say,
I tweeted last night that I didn't care anything about the show, but I definitely wanted to hear what Mike Gilbert had to say about it.
I saw your tweet.
I may actually just sit down and listen to his
as I was watching
so
stuff on my phone. I was like, oh my God, Mike Gilbert
on there, and he's so funny when he talks about stuff that it might just be worth it just to hear him give feedback on that show.
Funny because he tweeted and said that he bullied Steve Maclin into re-signing.
Yeah, right.
And then he tweeted and he was like, Mike Santana's back, and he was like, this is awesome. And then like a little bit later, he was like, what has happened? So this pay-per-view seemed like it was all over the place. And so I'm sure Scott D'Amore is like, what are you doing to my company?
What have you done?
I mean, not that Scott didn't book his own weird shit, because there's some questionable things that Scott was
of course.
Yeah, however, they were kind of moving away from that. Now they're like reverting, and I saw one of those engagement accounts claim that I haven't followed up on it, but something about PW Insider claims that they are talking to Tessa. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? No. Please don't do that. This is not going to end well for you. You know how it ended the first time. Regardless of all the other accusations, she took your title and went to Mexico and would not come back and wrestle for you and would not mail your title back to you. And you had to create a brand new title because she would not give it back. And then you should go look at what happened with WoW and just remind yourself of what happened with that. But I don't know what the hell is happening over in TNA. planned. I don't know.
I mean, I guess they can sign her as long as she's not coming to AEW, which would piss me off so hard.
Oh no, I don't want to see her either. I don't want to have to time her.
I don't want her on.
I don't want to see her. She is a terrible person. I don't. And she's wrecks everything, and I just
don't want to support. I don't want to.
No, I don't want to support her in any way.
She's another one of these poison pill types that just it sucks that she's that good of a wrestler and is just a giant poison pill.
She is a giant poison.
Like I wish that somebody else could have that talent that wasn't a butthead.
Right.
I'm using words that won't demonetize us entirely.
Yes,
because that was way under where I wanted to say.
Yes. There's so many comments over here, and we're still on the pre-show. But
we need to get going here.
Yes, we need to get going. I see your comments, and I do want to pop this up real quick. People think Punk is a cancer in the locker room. Just wait till they sign Tessa.
Oh, that's exactly the correlation I was making in my head, but I didn't want to say it out loud because I'm tired of platforming Phil Brooks.
I do want to bring this up real quick before we switch. Hassan does say that he's guessing Matt Hardy is keeping busy until his brother finishes his contract and negotiate together. Yes, I see.
Makes sense.
I feel like because nobody has been able to say for sure when his contract is up, because I don't know if they obviously had to add time onto it when he was in rehab.
Yeah,
he's still recovering from his concussion, I believe. I think I haven't heard an update, so I assume that's where he's at with that. So, but yeah, so it'll be so I'm not sure how much longer Jeff Hardy actually has on his contract, and it may depend on his recovery from what's happening now.
Everything.
So yeah, so but I do think that's a very good point, Hassan. I think he's just doing what he's gonna do until
try to. I mean, he's doing everything he can to maybe try and get them to leave the business well.
Yeah, maybe they go back to WWE and get on a Legends deal. I mean, and try to get into the Hall of Fame. No, try to. They should be in the Hall of Fame. I will fight somebody if they are not. I will personally fight that man myself.
It's a new era, so we're fine.
That's what I keep hearing. That's what they keep trying to tell me.
All right, let's go to the next one so that we can get you to your thing. Wait, I'm going to do this one. All
right. So these are not in any particular order. These are just here. We do know that we do obviously know what the pay-per-view main event is. All of these are just, I was trying to remember matches off the top of my head. Some of them I had to go look up and make sure I wasn't missing things. So these are just in no particular order. In a match that we've already seen, and I don't think anybody gives a shit about, is the FTW match. It's Hook versus Chris Jericho. We talked about this last week. Neither of us care about this story. We hate it. Hook needs to be away from Jericho. He used in the promo last week, he used every single name he trademarked. Then last night he called himself the Learning Tree again. And not that Jericho is not. Just it sounds so pretentious when you say that. And Jericho is pretentious at times, and whatever.
He's trying to be a heel, but it's just so overexposed at this time that it with him that it's like, stay away from Hook. He doesn't need you. He's plenty over on his own.
And then I knew
stop trying to sponge off the young people, weirdo.
Yeah, as soon as he pushed Taz, I was like, God, now we're getting a fucking match on Sunday, aren't we? And here it is. Not even a pre-show match.
I told you this week
on the main card.
I was like, I really hope Taz just comes out and is like, really what I'm out here to tell you is, if you have something to say to my kids, say it yourself. You like a man, and I hate you because Taz is never really like Jericho, and he's pretty much heel Taz on the thing all the time. Yeah. But of course, it was going to be this. And as soon as I was like, oh no, we could
all see it coming as soon as that segment was announced. And then when it happened, and then we were like, we're getting this again. Yeah, and I said the same thing.
Oh my God, Taz, can Taz just please suplex the shit out of him one time, though?
Like, tuck up his neck, I'm sure he would. But
I know,
and now he has knee problems on top of that, as the commentary pointed out. He already has knee problems. So
poor old Taz just wants.
Yeah, I think that's why
I hope Hook just beats the crap out of him.
That's what I hope, but I know that I don't think that's what's happening. I think Jericho is winning this title. That's what when I tweeted, I was like, Jericho's winning. This isn't me. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's winning this title. I think it's a
Gross.
terrible idea, but I think that's what they're doing.
Brad, no.
Please don't put
Guys.
that in the universe. Sorry out. Brad says that he wasn't surprised that if Jericho wins and starts a new group called the Learning Tree, who the fuck is he going to put in this group? He can put the Acclaimed in it, I guess.
That sounds like a really bad privatized freaking like preschool for that no one should be sending their kids to.
No. Sean says in order for Jericho's new gimmick to work, Jericho has the win. He's taking the internet BS out about leeching off younger talent and turning it into a storyline. Kind of brilliant in a way. I mean, I guess it's kind of brilliant in a way.
That's what he does. That's what
I'm over it. I'm over Jericho. I don't like any of this. I want him off my TV for a while. Him and Max Caster should just get off TV for a bit. I don't think that's happening because Jericho is one of the highest paid people in that company. So, but unfortunately, I do think Hook is losing the title. I think Jericho will be FTW champion because it's going to piss off Taz. On top of that, Taz is going to be livid that Jericho is getting this title, which
me and Taz can hang out on Twitter together then and be pissed off MFers.
And I don't know where Hook goes from here. I guess he'll go do his own thing and then he'll probably eventually join Jericho.
That's a great point.
He's eventually going to join Jericho, I guess. I don't know. He's going to lose on his own for a while and be lost like the rest of
I hope they don't
the Appreciation Society. They were, Angelo hinted at a fake retirement last night.
God, I hate the idea of them going back to just bringing Hook out for the pop and sending him back to the
I don't think they'll do that. Hopefully they won't regress that much, but I guess at some point Hook is going to join Jericho. Probably some stupid thing.
All right.
Yeah. I'm not
sorry.
I'm not happy about it, but I think
I'm grumpy. That made me grumpy.
So this match we have Roderick Strong is defending the international championship against Kyle O'Reilly. Obviously Kyle O'Reilly returned at Revolution, which I was very excited about because I was there. And Kyle O'Reilly has been he doesn't want to be, he wants to do things on his own, and Roddy took that very badly and decided to attack him for it. And so now we have this match, and I keep forgetting that Roderick has the internet. Anytime I think about the international championship, I'm like, oh yeah, Roddy has it. And that's not to say that I don't like Roddy, because I do. I just forget that he has it. And so as much as I would love Kyle O'Reilly to win here, I think Roddy is retaining because they're keeping gold on Undisputed Kingdom, especially now that Adam Cole's off TV for a while. So
yeah, I'd have to. I mean, I have to agree with you. And I know that some people do like Roddy's gimmick, but I'm not one of those.
I mean, I don't hate it. Sometimes it's just annoying.
Fine.
Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes, I mean, it was funny. There are parts of it that were really funny in the beginning. Some of it doesn't bother me, but sometimes it just feels like it feels like the Undisputed Kingdom just can't get, like, I don't know what it is. It just seems like there's something stopping them from getting to where they should be. Like, not that I think they should be like Undisputed Era or anything like that. I just feel like they can't quite get the pieces together. And part of it is because Adam Cole was injured and they had to do this workaround. And there was the whole devil storyline bullshit too. And it just kind of convoluted everything. And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I can't quite get into them. It's not like I don't hate them or anything like that. And
I know what you're saying.
I really like Roddy. I like Wardlow. I like Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. I think the Kingdom are a really great tag team. Would be nice if they would show up in Ring of Honor more often and defend their fucking titles. But yeah, so I feel like Roddy retains just to keep the Kingdom storyline going. They're the Undisputed Kingdom story. I would love Kyle to be champion. I just don't think it's happening tonight. Even though, and then David disagrees with us and says that Kyle O'Reilly has been a St. Louis resident for a long time and he wins tonight.
That'd be great.
I would love it. I would not be. I love Kyle O'Reilly and I would love to see him as champion.
All about that, David.
Hassan said, in the ring, Kyle and Roddy will kill it. Hopefully the match will progress some kind of story and elevate the Undisputed Kingdom somehow. I agree. I assume Wardlow's going to get involved.
Wrestled a
Wardlow didn't. Times. Wardlow, I thought that was interesting. Wardlow was not there last night. During the Undisputed, I thought he was gonna do something because he didn't come out with the Undisputed Kingdom, and I was like, oh well, he's probably gonna run in later because that's what he does now. He was not there last night, So does he show up tonight to help Roddy, or is he gonna let Roddy flail? Or if he feels like Roddy's in danger of losing the title, is he gonna step in because Adam Cole wants him to? So I feel like that's another reason I think they'll retain, as Wardlow will probably help him.
Well, at least you've given me a little bit of like doubt because of the living in St. Louis thing. So,
right,
like you've planted the seed for me a little. There we go.
Right. This is for the vacant AEW World Tag Team titles. It is the Young Bucks versus FTR in a ladder match.
It's a ladder match, by the way.
The Young Bucks are obviously very good at the ladder matches. FTR doesn't really do ladder matches. It's not their wheelhouse. That's not their thing. Young Bucks, and one of my favorite ladder matches is the Young Bucks versus the Hardys at Ring of Honor right before, and then the next night the Hardy Boys returned to WWE at WrestleMania.
Okay.
They returned at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes. And so the night before, though, was their tag team. It was a tag team ladder match, which was phenomenal. It was a fantastic match. So I'm glad that they added. I don't really care for this match, but I'm glad they at least added ladders to make me somewhat more interested in this match. Clearly, I do. We've been saying this for a while. I think the Young Bucks win here. Obviously, now we know that Jack Perry will most likely be returning tonight. That's my guess. I think a lot of people are kind of under the same thing because, I thought that anyway as of last week, but then it came out earlier this week that Jack has finished his New Japan commitments, and so he is free to return to AEW. And what better way to return than helping the Young Bucks win the tag team tournament, and because I guess this is technically the finals of that tournament. So they win the tournament and the titles is what I think is happening here.
I think so too. And I think that because of how they played it out and they blamed FTR for losing and all that stuff. But I do think Jack's coming back, and I do think he might join up with them because it seems unlikely, but not.
Yeah, Sean points out, and I guess kind of goes with our same thought, is what if Jack Perry screws over the Bucks instead of FTR because he blames them for everything about Punk?
Fair enough.
I think that's definitely a way that they could do it. However, I think the whole plan this entire time has been to bring in Jack to be with them. I think that's just been their plan the whole time, I feel like. But
I also think that they're kind of winning for exactly all the reasons we sort of discussed, which is really playing it up, especially with being on the ballots and everything we are the greatest of all time. And we're they've been playing heels for a while now to kind of get back to their roots.
Bucks are the best Young Bucks. Like I love
and this is what they do. So I feel like, especially with the way they've been setting it up, like it just feels like they're winning so they can terrorize everybody so that the tag team division gets stronger again. And
please,
you potentially bring in again the Motor City Machine Guns to be like, excuse us. You wouldn't even be on TV if it weren't for us.
Yes, that's why I said that. Tweeted a few weeks ago. The Motor City Machine Guns have entered the chat because they kept saying whoever wins this will be the tag team, the best tag team of this generation, and I was like, this is how Motor City's coming in. They're going to get involved in this somehow. And so whether it's maybe now it's not tonight, maybe it is all Jack. They could do Motor City
because they do have a big distraction for the Jack Perry return tonight to keep Motor City off until then, and then to build themselves up as being braggertons for the next 6 weeks.
Right. So Motor City could show up at Double or Nothing. They could show up right before Double or Nothing. Like I feel like, and especially if it is delayed as it is being reported, then it gives the Young Bucks time to keep talking about how they're the greatest of this generation and nobody has been better, or they could even be like, we surpassed our mentors, and like just making little shots at Motor City until Motor City shows up.
They're really good at that stuff anyway.
Yes.
Anyone who watch all of us BTE watchers, that someone made a point about this.
I was just about to say BTE watchers.
Someone even I think it might have been Jeff and Paul, one of them making the point about the BTE watchers understand this language versus some people that don't. And you and I have talked about that a million times, is that we do watch differently because of the cocktail of weirdness that actually played out in front of us in the ring that BTE was.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
it was almost like having a supplemental.
Yeah, and they were already. I mean, because we were watching. I mean, I don't know. Karen, you probably were too, but like we were Nikki and I were watching BTE before AEW even existed. Like AEW wasn't. Yeah, we've been watching. So I think we started watching in like
I went back and started from the beginning when I
think we started around episode like 50 or something like that. And because we were watching. And then we did go back and we didn't watch all like everything we missed, but we watched like the first few episodes, and you could see like at the beginning they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They were just like it was just a whole bunch of random shit. And then they eventually like started building it up, and they were bringing other people. Then they started Then they started bringing in storylines with what they were doing in New Japan and on the Indies, and they were obviously it led into All In. So a lot of us have been on this journey with them through BTE. And so we see what's happening. We see what they're leaning into. They're leaning into all the comments about them, about how people hate them and the troll. Like they're just leaning into all of it, and they're doing a very good job of it.
The whole Budge joke made it onto television, even though not everyone watches BT. I know that people are like, "Well, I don't watch BT. It doesn't matter." It's like, yeah, the Budge thing made it onto TV because of BTE. That came straight out of BTE. And then
because fans were even before it made it to TV, BTE watchers were tweeting Budge when Adam Cole would be on TV.
Right.
Like you would see it, and my timeline would be full of people saying Budge because they were watching it too, and they knew what that was, and it, like you said, it made it onto TV. And that's when we used to joke about they were gonna do the Adam Cole in a pole match because Adam Cole had so many boyfriends because he had
it's not real unless it's on TV, and it makes it onto TV. Then screw you guys.
Sean says the Bucks are perfect petty bagger heels, especially with them being EVPs. Yeah, they've always been really good heels, but now because they are EVPs, they've got this extra layer, and they can play up all the things that people think about them, and which is exactly what they're doing. They're playing right into it. They know what they're doing. They've
always whether done it you love way. Or hate, figured out that's their formula is whatever bullshit people are saying about us, let's start acting like that.
Right. And whether you love or hate the Young Bucks, they are incredibly smart. They are two of the smartest people in the business. I mean, this is how we have a rival company. Correct. We have an alternative in part because of these two right here and the way that they think and the way that they do things, that they are a big part of the reason AEW is even a thing. So even if you hate them, you have to give them that.
Correct. All right. We should keep going.
We should.
Sorry. We're getting long in this.
All right, more elite action. Kazuchika Okada will be defending his newly won AEW Continental Championship against Pac. This match looks like it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
It's going to be a banger, man. These two are going to give it.
I think this might be a sleeper match. Like, I think people know it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be better than people think it's going to be.
It's going to be really good. Pac has a way of bringing it for these matches, and Okada's Okada.
Right. Exactly.
Pac is one of those people where it's like, sometimes he goes like silent in a way where you forget how good he is, and then he comes back in the ring and he puts on a match with every different kind of person. Like that Orange Cassidy match is still like one of my favorite ones. Yes, he was like, okay, fine, but this is like two incredibly talented guys. There's going to be some serious.
And this is almost like I mean, not many people are calling it a dream match, but it almost is, because like I would never have expected Pac to wrestle Okada. Like, that's not even a match I would have even thought of him, like, even as a Forbidden Door match. Like, that's not something I would have even considered. So I think this match is really going to deliver. And we see, like last night, Okada was getting angry at Pac, which when Okada gets angry, he's like, it's almost like when Ibushi gets that look in his eyes and that look on his face when you have pissed him off, and he goes into like, you can see it on his face. His face literally changed. Yeah, you can tell when he's about to lose it. And Okada does that at times too. Like when you push him to that point, he gets this look in his eyes, and he just turns it up another notch, which is insane because he's already like at 12 all the time as it is. And so I feel like this will be feel like this is going to be a lot. I think people will like it, but I think that people are going to talk about it more than they think. Like, I think that because it's easy to lose this match when you've got the two really huge matches. I think this match is like, again, this is a match that could main event just about anything else. And the fact that it's just on the pay-per-view, it speaks a lot to the talent right now. And I do think Okada retains here.
I agree with that. I completely agree. I think it's going to be okay losing to Okada. And it's gonna be really awesome.
Yeah, Sean brings up a good point that Okada, he thinks he'll go undefeated for at least a year. I can see him going for undefeated for a while, for sure. And especially with this, and then he can build up this Continental Championship that didn't get, it was part of Eddie's Triple Crown. And so it doesn't have its own identity yet. And I think Okada can give it that identity. And I think
they changed up the way the belt actually looks.
Almost like how Orange Cassidy took the international championship to a whole new level. And not because Pac was an amazing first champion, and especially because I loved he was defending it in the UK against like indie guys, which I loved that. I thought that was really cool that he was doing that type of stuff. But I think now with this, I think Okada can kind of do the same thing with the Continental Championship, and he can actually bring some prestige to it and just make it be, it's not just another title. Like, I think Okada having a title is not just another title. Like, having a title is a big deal, and I think that they could build it up, especially giving him opponents like Pac will really build this title, and I think they could do it if they do it the right way.
I agree. I think that this will actually start this title being a serious title on.
Yeah, me too.
And him retaining, but this is going to be a good match. Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Yay, women's match. So we for the AEW Women's Championship, we have Timeless Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. Obviously, if you remember, Thunder Rosa was champion. She was injured, and while we didn't at the time weren't sure how long she was going to be out, Toni Storm was the interim champion for a bit until Britt Baker fussed enough to make them get rid of the interim part of that title, and that started that whole stuff with them. But yeah, so and then obviously Toni Storm has been this champion, and so Thunder Rosa finally, because we've been saying when they were bringing Thunder Rosa, she has a built-in storyline. She never lost the title, and they would not touch that thing. And then finally, they're like, okay, well, I guess she's wrestled enough matches that we can make this the story as she wants the title she never lost.
Who'da thunk?
Yeah. I do think that Toni retains here, but I feel like this is going to be a very good match, and I would not be surprised, obviously, if Mariah gets involved and keeps Thunder Rosa from winning. Like, I think Thunder Rosa is going to come pretty close to winning, and that. But then there's also Deonna, because Deonna has been dealing with both Toni and Mariah, but then Thunder Rosa told her the other day she didn't need her help basically to mind her own business. So could we see? I mean, there's a possibility of Deonna getting involved here. I don't want to make it too convoluted, but with the story they've been telling, I could see that possibility, and hopefully advance some women's storylines beyond the title.
Yeah, I don't think Thunder's going to win tonight, but I don't think it's going to be a clean finish for sure. And I don't know if Mariah May is going to interfere to help Toni, but I mean, because she's clearly like starting to get to the point where she's angling for becoming Toni for really real. So
yeah,
I'm interested in how.
Yes.
Like, maybe she's trying to help Thunder Rosa, but accidentally helps Toni, and Toni's like, wait a minute, but not really, because Toni's in her own world, and no one would dare to.
Right. Who would ever do something like that?
No one would ever turn on.
Well, and then you've got Luther there who can be like, oh, no, that's not what was happening. Like, because
Or Deonna could come out and keep Mariah May away.
And we also see Luther is starting to get kind of fed up. Toni keeps, rude. She's being rude to him a lot more. And you can kind of see, so is Luther kind of plotting with Mariah? Are they kind of doing, or tonight, will this kind of push Luther into being like, you know what? I'm going to help Mariah. We are going to come up with a plan and get rid of Toni or something like that. So I could see.
Maybe she does something so horrendous to win that they're all like, you know what? F you. I'm going to be her valet and she's better than you. And you can be the champion by yourself. Get your own freaking shoe.
Sean has laid out a theory that Tony retains because of Mariah and Deonna interference, leading to Deonna versus Thunder and Tony versus the Joshi imports trying to break Mariah away from Tony. I could see that being where this is going, especially with Forbidden Door coming up.
I love that because that's tons of women's storylines.
Yes, give me all the women's storylines.
I'm all about that.
I'm hoping that Ruby being pregnant means the stupid storyline with Saraya and her brother is ending.
Goes away too.
I hope that is the end of the storyline and we can forget it ever happened.
I mean, part of me is glad that they're actually a couple and there was actually something under that. I don't know if I feel good about them like working into the story, although that's very wrestling. And
I think yeah.
But
yeah,
I like you just said, with it, please be done.
I'm ready for this. I hated
that.
Just
be done. Be done. Saraya, her brother, this entire ridiculous, like, not pass the Bechdel test at WWE booking. Like, let's know. Please.
I'm tired. I hate this story. I hope.
Congratulations to them.
Yes.
This story goes away with us knowing that this is why they were all freaked out. It actually gives it a little bit of, like, it lends a little bit of credence to the ridiculousness of the story because she was dealing with this and whatever.
Right.
So
yeah,
I'll just call it that and we can move on.
Just move on and never talk about it
and
again.
Never speak
and only talk about it except for when we talk about stupid storylines like well, there's a few of them, but yes.
Use it as an example when we're saying what not to do, but otherwise we never speak of this in canon again.
Yes, right.
Because it's wrestling and we can race whatever we want. What's next? Another women's match. Holy shit.
Women's match. For the TBS Championship. Yeah, on the main card. We have two women's matches on the main card, and this one will be fought under house rules, which means that Willow can pick a stipulation for this match. I don't believe she has said yet what the stipulation will be. And maybe it's that she gets to fight Brody King after she wins because clearly Brody King fears Willow Nightingale, and then she proved it even more on Wednesday. But yeah, so Julia is putting her TBS championship on the line against Willow Nightingale. This one I've gone back and forth with. I think that I have been thinking that Willow wins here. And this really kicks off the feud with Mercedes because Mercedes does not want Willow having another title because Mercedes sort of blames her for her getting injured, but then she kind of backs off from that because clearly it was not Willow's fault. We all saw the match. Unfortunately, and it was just an accident happens. So they've tried to blame it on Willow. And I think, and Lyric pointed out a few weeks ago that Double or Nothing will be just past the 1-year anniversary of Willow versus Mercedes at Battle in the Valley, where Willow did win that title. So I could see them playing that up for that. I don't necessarily see Willow being a short-term champion. But then do you have Mercedes lose her first title match? So there's that too, and I can kind of go back and forth with that. And so there's some holes in my theory and my storyline. I think that Lyric is on the right track. I do feel like it is Mercedes versus Willow. I feel like this is the first real story for her. I do feel like Chris is jealous of Willow and I think that's another real reason Willow wins this title is because Chris does not want her to have, even though they're friends and she says they're friends, she wants her TBS title back. And if Willow carries it, I think that will just push her more into the heel side of the best friends thing. Trent said something to her, whispered something in her ear right after he turned on Orange Cassidy. Maybe they've been plotting, and so maybe he told her it's time. Now you have to activate your part of the plan. So I feel like she is involved in Mercedes' attack. I feel like she made it look, of course, like it was Julia and Sky, but I think it has nothing to do with them. I think it's Chris. But then you could have Julia retain and Willow and Mercedes can still do their thing. But also, we don't know how healthy Julia is. Julia has been injured. So they could have, so Willow could win here to give, maybe Julia needs to take some time off, or at least from competing. She could still be a TV character depending on what the injury is. And so this one is one I go back and forth on. I would like to see Willow win. I don't want her to have a short title reign, but I feel like for the story with Mercedes, Willow needs this title, because I think that is the goal, is to keep, as Mercedes does not want Willow to have, she doesn't want Willow to have the success. She doesn't like that Willow got all that love and support, especially from Japanese fans. They really liked her. And so I think that Mercedes doesn't like that. And so I feel like she thinks Willow is a threat. And so having the title gives her, Mercedes, even more of a reason to hate Willow or to want to go after her. So it's storyline for that part. As far as how it goes with the, having Mercedes lose her first title match, that's a whole other thing. But I could see Willow winning tonight, and that's what really sets off the feud with Mercedes, because they've already been teasing it. Obviously, Willow had that chair and kind of looked like she was going to hit Mercedes with it. I don't think Willow turns heel, but they could. But they've teased Willow as a heel on and off before, and everybody's reaction was like, absolutely not. So, but what are your thoughts on it?
It bums me out that Julia is hurt, and I've loved her run with this belt, and I like that she's done a good job. But if she is hurt, especially if she's hurt, it makes way more sense to put it on Willow. Mm-hmm. And because they have been pushing I would have said no, maybe no, but especially with the potential of an injury. And it's because of Mercedes needing someone to feud with, and this is the most obvious feud. And it can't be for the main women's title just yet.
Right.
So, and it gives time to build that up anyway. So I think hurt or not, that Julia would probably be losing this title tonight, especially when things like what Lyric said, where it's even like an anniversary deal. That's a huge, that is a huge show. So it makes
Double or Nothing is a huge pay-per-view, and this is a
brand
new one.
Needs to. She's a baby. Everyone loves Willow, so her carrying that title I don't want her to be a short term either.
That's my only hesitation is I don't want her to be transitional. That's my hesitation with her winning here. But at some point, you have to do it, and I think if it's for the story that they're telling, and then so we have a comment here. It says Julia has done a great job with the title. Willow's push has been long overdue. Absolutely. She should have
I agree with.
She should have been, they should have done that a long time ago.
She probably should have had this TBS title by now, but
yes, for sure. Sean says, I hope Julia retains, but I can see them making Willow a transitional champion to get the belt on Mercedes, but who attacked Monet? Another interesting theory, and I still think it's Chris. However, Athena has kind of been teasing that she may or may not be involved. She's kind of hinted, she's tweeted, and she's like, man, who would attack? Her and Mercedes have been going back and forth on Twitter a little bit. Who would have done that to you? We should look into it. She's kind of helping her, but maybe it is because she is the one who did it. Maybe it was Billy. And so they have kind of, which I like that they've kind of given you a couple different options on who it could be. Obviously I don't think it's Julia or Sky. I think that's obviously way too obvious. Mm-hmm. So I think Stat makes sense, but this could that be how they bring Athena up? That would be a fascinating way to do it. Athena versus Mercedes is a match that a lot of people want, including us.
I'm into that.
It'll be interesting to see how that, and she was, Willow was attacked before her match on Wednesday, and she almost didn't make it out to the match. And so I was like, because I thought Chris was going to come out. I was like, oh, is she going to compete on Willow's behalf for her? And then Willow made it out there. But I still feel like, then they cut the scene in the back where Chris is still playing, her and Stoke are hyping her up. And I still feel like it's Stat. I don't know Sean says that he wishes Baker and Hayter were returning sooner rather than later. I saw something this week saying there were rumors that there were plans in place for Britt Baker, but I have no idea what is going on with her back. She's had severe back injury issues for a while. Maybe they have improved to the point where she can be at least on screen if she can't be in the ring, but I don't know. And I'm not hearing any updates about Jamie. And from what I originally understand in the beginning, they were very concerned about her back injury being career ending. So I don't know if it's just they're being super careful with her, or if it is still that bad, or if they're just keeping it quiet so that when she returns, nobody will see it coming, which is certainly possible, especially with Double or Nothing coming up next month, and we talk about the return. So it'll be really interesting to see how these two how this happens. And Sean said that there have been rumblings that Malachi and Buddy are leaving. There seems like there's rumblings every other day.
I think
about
that
them
I mean,
leaving.
at least for I would think for people like Miro and Buddy and Malachi, I think Tony will probably sit on their contracts because he knows they're going to go straight back to WWE, and it's hot right now. And it's not going to cost him that much money. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think he's going to let go of anyone he knows is going right back to the other guy that is hot right now.
Right.
So you'll probably see him sit on those contracts.
Well, and Miro's not even Miro. From the last we heard, Miro went back to Bulgaria because he and Lana are going through or getting divorced, and so he went to Bulgaria to kind of deal with that, with just kind of process the fact that his marriage is ending. And so it sounds like he's just kind of on sabbatical and is just, I think Tony's just giving him whatever time he needs, which is a nice thing to do.
So weird.
And so it feels like that's kind of what before before it came out that they were getting divorced, Miro had said he was dealing with an injury. So perhaps he does have a legitimate injury, and maybe he is going back to kind of rest it and do like whatever he needs to do for that, and also deal with his marriage ending on top of that. So maybe he's just so maybe he's not, he's just doing his thing over there while trying to figure that all out. So
maybe. All right, next one. Getting long. Gotta go.
Speaking of House of Black,
just switch. Hey.
Yes, House of Black will be wrestling Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe. There is no title involved here. It is just a
good old fashioned
a good old fashioned trios match. Eddie just lost to Mark Briscoe at Supercard of Honor. They said that they didn't. It doesn't matter. They can still. They can get along. They can coexist because they've been friends forever. It's not a big deal. They've showed that they are a cohesive team. We saw that last night with their match against. Wait, did they wrestle Top Flight and Andretti? Is that what that match was?
I can't remember now.
I should know. I covered it. I have to type about it. I believe that was the match. And somebody made a point, which I thought was nice. Was that Adam Copeland doesn't make Eddie and Mark feel like they're below him. He brings them up he treats them as they are equals to him and they are on his level, which is a really cool thing to see because Adam Copeland obviously has been around for a very long time. Both of them have also been around for a very long time, but he's somebody who's been a champion. A lot of people know him, and he could be a diva if he wanted to and just not bring people up with him, but he seems to understand that fans love Eddie and Mark. He seems to love Eddie and Mark. And I think that that's a really nice thing to see. Like, I don't feel like there's going to be any problems coexisting. I feel like I think it's just going to be a fun match. I think it'll be entertaining.
It seems like he's finally learning to loosen up. Like he's finally coming out of his WWE shell. Yeah. I think Mox was ready. Mox was more than ready to come out of that shell. Mm-hmm. I think some of these other guys are realizing coming out of that shell and how cool it can be.
Yeah, and Adam had that. He was in that system for so long that you
basically all he's ever known.
Yeah, and he was in it for and so he's now in this position where he doesn't have somebody writing his promos for him, and he's got to kind of lean into that and getting. But
people are also cheering his name, and they're excited to see him. And I think that you can see sometimes when the crowd reacts to him, you can see him kind of having a moment where he's like, "Oh crap, they can like me as somebody else other than Edge."
Yeah, so I'm saying it's his name that they're saying now after all this time. And I'm kind of when I was putting this together last night, the writing down all the matches, I was like, I'm kind of annoyed that the TNT championship is not being defended. But on the other hand, like I think this is a really good match. And like I love House of Black. I think they're phenomenal. And
they're fun.
Don't want them to disband. I mean, if they're not happy, then like of course I don't want them to be somewhere where they're not happy. But I love House of Black and I think they're phenomenal and they're so good together. But I really like the other, like I am a huge Eddie Kingston fan. I love Mark Briscoe. I love Adam Copeland. So I think this will be a fun match. I do agree that the faces will win. And Sean did say, and I agree, a broken heart ends the injury. You are correct.
You are correct, Sean. I'm glad you put that out there. I was going to say that Sean's right, and that's absolutely true. And it sucks. I mean,
it does suck.
That's unfortunate for him. Oh.
It does. And then he also says Copeland is a calming force in AEW. Absolutely. Christian added so much to AEW, and this has a huge resurgence in what could be their final runs. Right. And like Christian has, I really think this has been the run of his singles career. Like of course he did some really great stuff in TNA and like especially when he was champion over there. But this singles run for Christian has been unlike anything he's ever done. And Adam Copeland's run, of course, we're still early into this run. He's only been here since October? I think it was. September.
It's not been very long at all.
It's not been long, but
it seems like it has, but it really hasn't.
He really has not been. Yeah,
he's not starting to hit his stride. This Cope Open thing has been. I love the Cope Open. The Cope Open thing has been a fantastic addition to the shows, and I think it's good. I think it's good for him and the people he's wrestling because I think he's like, okay, I found something that defines me. Like
he did a lucha match with Pentagon or with Penta. And he was doing like lucha moves. Like he was like, all right, let's do it. Like, I'm not going to half-ass it. Like if I'm going to wrestle one of the premier luchadors in wrestling, I want to do, I want to go all out. And this man's 50 years old and that match was great. And he's been, I've loved the Cope Open. He's testing himself against all these different styles and a lot of people he's never even wrestled before. And like you said, it's helping these other wrestlers get in with somebody who's been in the business for 3 decades and is, one half of one of the best tag teams ever. And especially of the 2000s. And so I really like this. And I think this match is going to be fun, but I agree with Sean. I do think the baby faces are going to win here.
Yeah. Agreed. And also, yes, I'm very excited for this. This just looks like fun.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably be not necessarily a cool down match, but I think it'll be something to kind of help people. Like, I don't think the fans are like gonna be quiet during it, but I think it'll like.
No, I know what you're saying. Now.
Sometimes you have these real big times. You kind of got to calm down a little bit, and I think that's one of those matches that'll stabilize the crowd, just let people come down from let their emotions stabilize a little bit, but also enjoy good wrestling at the same time.
Agreed. So they threw this next one up here.
This like we said, this match would be a main event any other pay-per-view. So we've got and we don't know where this is falling on the card. I would not be surprised if it's technically a double main event, even if they're not going to call it that. I won't be surprised.
Tony could like really surprise us and make this the first match of the night too.
He really could. He could do shit like that before. Book ending Dynasty with this and the title match would be a hell of a bookend for sure.
I mean,
if he wanted to go crazy,
that's a hot start if ever you saw one.
That's right. He's
done that before. The only reason I say, I'm being like, that's wild speculation, but he's done that before. Where he has put a match that was this where you thought, oh, they'll just co-main this. He'll just put it right at the beginning.
Yeah, and just bookend the show with it. So yeah. Will Ospreay versus Danielson. I mean, I don't really know what there is to say about this other than like we live in a time where we can get this match. Definitely
the winner of this match.
And we see Danielson like took out the braids and his hair is so long. Like Nikki was like, his hair is so long. And then and he's taking out the braids and like I was like, I don't know if that means anything or if he just took them out or if it was interesting that he took them out, his hair down right before this. I was like, oh,
he's like a similar like height to my friend John, who actually has long hair. He's like kept his hair long and he like, so when he had his hair out last night, I was like, geez, needs to get John out here. There's like they're doing an impression of each other or something. He must be so excited right now. I'm like, he has quite a mane going on. He's really kind of making Capcom look bad. Like it's just like so funny. But I kind of like it. I like that he went like crazy guy.
Yeah, man, that Bunkhouse
this
brawl
match is gonna be one of the best matches of the year.
I think so too. It's certainly already a match of the year contender on paper, and I'm sure it will live up to the hype because we've already seen both of them can do, especially when it's a match that they are both heavily invested in. Like, this is a match both men want this match. They've been dying to have this match, and now they're getting it. And then you have the other story stuff of, like you said, Will doesn't like the Don Callis family's interfering. They're interfering on his behalf, and he doesn't. And he's telling them, make sure that you hurt Danielson before his match with Will Ospreay. Like, he doesn't think Ospreay can win it by himself. Like, maybe Callis is like, Danielson's really good. I don't know about this, so let's fuck him up a little bit. and then Danielson's out here doing bunkhouse brawls 24 hours beforehand. And he even gets on the microphone last night and he was like, well, why are you doing this match? And people wonder, why am I doing this match before? And he was like, because heaven to me looks like this, that I'm wrestling and I'm bleeding and the fans are cheering my name. He's like, this is heaven for me. Like, this is when I die, this is what I think heaven is. Like, which is an incredible thing and a very Bryan Danielson thing to say.
Yeah.
But you can see how much he loves it, how much fun he's having. And we know that, Danielson's going part-time after this year because he made a commitment to his child, which I completely understand. Good. I commend him for that. And I will take Danielson any match that I can get him in. And so if he wrestles just the 4 big pay-per-views from now on, I will take that. I still want a G1 from him, but I know that that's very taxing on the body, but I still want it just because I'm selfish. But yeah, I think this match is going to be incredible. And it's interesting because Ospreay is undefeated, just like Okada. He has not lost the match. I mean, they've only been here for, a few minutes apiece, but they're still undefeated. And how do you have him lose to a guy? Like, losing to Danielson is not going to hurt Will Ospreay.
Here's what I'm thinking now that all of that stuff with the Callis family happened, and I don't want this to happen, but what if the Don Callis family gets involved in this, costs Will the match, and that's his final straw, and then we get a rematch with these two later on down the line? That's a clean match.
If Will Ospreay was not most likely winning the title at Wembley, which I think we all pretty much know that's what's going to happen, this would be a Wembley match.
Yeah.
This is a Wrestle Kingdom match.
Oh, yeah.
It's so... Or they could also do a rematch if, like Sean suggests, it goes to a time limit draw. Because both men want to prove that they are better than the other. That's the whole reason we did Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. was who was the better technical wrestler. The whole reason we did that match. So
yeah, this is who's the greatest in the world, basically.
If it ends in a time limit draw, both men are going to want this match, but also because Danielson is going into a part-time year, he only has so many matches left. And not that I would not want to see him repeat this, but does he want to repeat matches? Like, is he trying to, because he got Blue Panther. Like, he got Blue Panther. He's gotten the Zack Sabre Jr. match. He's gotten the Shibata match. Like, does he have more matches he's trying to check off first? And does he want a definitive win over him? Maybe he takes the loss here. Maybe he doesn't have an issue taking the loss to Will Ospreay, because losing to Will Ospreay, obviously, that's not going to hurt Danielson. It is.
I guess we know that whatever happens, it's okay with Danielson, and that's what we need to go with. Because pretty much it sounds like he can do what he wants at this point. And
yes, the man is helping with the book,
which is fine. So. I don't mind that. Just give him the book, as far as I'm concerned. But whatever.
He has given him the book to an extent, apparently. So, and has said that if he dies, he wants Danielson.
He wants him to have the company. I know. Yeah, I heard that too.
Whoa, hold on, sir.
Yikes.
But yeah, yes, fire emojis. Yes.
Yes, Hassan, that's all of that.
And then
both these guys.
Yeah. And then Sean says, open the match with this banger and a 30-minute Broadway. Listen, if that's the way they choose to go, I am all for it. I just thought
of that on the fly when I was sitting here, just because Tony's been known to do stuff like that to me, where it's like, okay, I'm not quite oh crap, he's starting with one of the best. And he even said,
Ospreay even said on last night, he told Danielson, like, I had nothing to do with this, like, I don't want this, and Danielson said, sure you did, and walked off. And so perhaps and if anybody's going to interfere in matches besides the Undisputed Kingdom, it's the Don Callis family.
It's Don Callis, and
it's the Don Callis.
I mean, they're definitely setting that up for him.
Yeah, and then because you had Hobbs get involved Hobbs got involved in the brawl last night, and
he was genuinely mad because he's proving that he can beat the same people as Bryan Danielson because he's the best. And if he's going to be the best in the world, then he has to prove that he can beat the same people.
Yes. So yeah, I really don't know how this is going to go. I'm happy either way. I don't really want a Don Callis interference, but because it's Don Callis, I won't be surprised.
It's hard to.
So I really don't know. I mean, but you also kind of want to. I'm assuming they want to keep Ospreay's. Besides Okada, if they're keeping anybody undefeated, it's Ospreay. So.
Fair.
But a tie would not hurt him if they go to a time limit draw. So all I know is that this is going to be an amazing match, and it will probably even exceed the expectations I already have for it, especially after Will Ospreay put on a fucking 5-star match with Takeshita at Revolution. And I knew that match was going to be good, and it far exceeded my expectations, and I have very high expectations for this match, and knowing both of them, it will probably even exceed that.
They will be bringing it. And the coup de grace.
Yes. So we finally are getting this one-on-one match with Samoa Joe putting his AEW World Championship on the line versus Swerve Strickland. This has been many months in the making, and we're finally getting it, and it rightfully has a main event spot because I feel like this is a story that's been building for a while, even before Samoa Joe. It's because Swerve obviously has been on this insanely hot run, and he's at the point where like fans are just like can taste it, like they want him to win so bad, and it's against because obviously they were also when they lost at Revolution. They were pissed, but also they're like, at least it was Samoa Joe is still the champion. Like, I think they might have harmed Hangman Page had he won. There might have been a real riot that happened there. However, if Samoa Joe retains tonight, there still might be a riot because their love for Samoa Joe only goes so far at this point, I think. And we've talked about it many times about how Tony books his champions. He plans them out a year in advance. Swerve started getting really hot middle of last year. Most likely Tony had his champions for this year already planned out. But he rarely pivots. We've seen that with injuries where he's kept people, where he should have made people drop titles, but he didn't. He's only pivoted a few times. We saw that with the Acclaimed when they did not win the tag team titles from Swerve and Keith Lee, and then they got a rematch and they won the titles. So Tony doesn't completely ignore the fans. So on the one hand, I'm trying to prepare myself because I know how Tony books things. But on the other hand, we're at a point where you can't hold Swerve back anymore. Like, you have to do this.
Completely agree with you.
I don't want him to be a short I don't necessarily want a short title run because I feel like so if he wins tonight and he holds it through Wembley for Will Ospreay, which Swerve versus Will Ospreay would be a banger, I think.
Hell yeah.
I don't really want a 4-month title run for Swerve, but on the other hand, if they don't do it now, I think the fans are going to get really upset by that, and it could backfire badly. Not necessarily on Joe, but onto Tony. And I don't know if putting something like the International Championship or something like that on him is enough for fans. Like, if that's enough to kind of quell fans until they can put this title on him next year. But at this point, I feel like you have to do it, or you're going to risk turning off a bunch of fans, and you're going to kill Swerve's momentum in the process. Like, Swerve has worked his ass off, and I feel like you have to do it here, or it's going to be very bad.
This is now or never time for me. Can't, there's no, if you don't give the belt to Swerve tonight, then you're done with him for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because what are you going to do with him if he doesn't win tonight?
Right.
You've killed I know that you and I have both heard rumors about where this belt was going to go. And
right.
But
I don't think that's happening.
Sometimes you don't know that someone's going to get hot, and all the wrestling guys that have been in this business forever will tell you that sometimes this just happens.
Yeah, and lightning doesn't strike twice. And not that Swerve like won't ever be hot again, but in the way that he is hot right now, and you have fans like literally begging.
Well, you already kind of cooled him off once before when you the rebellion, like you said, at Revolution and at. If you do that again, like you said, I think there will be negative backlash at Tony, not at Joe. I don't think anyone will blame Joe.
No.
And I think that you're literally like kind of just squandering a chance to have a major. I mean, this championship is going to mean a lot more than it's not a small thing. I mean,
no,
there's so many layers to Swerve becoming champion and he's so hot right now. I
just feel like you can't.
I don't know if he doesn't get the belt tonight. I don't know where we go from here. I have no idea. I love Joe. I think he's been a great champion. I think he could carry the belt wonderfully he could be champion for another year for all I care. Except for this situation that's presented itself here.
Right. And that's the other thing.
You booked a match.
If Samoa Joe retains, where do you go with Samoa Joe?
Yeah, right.
Who does he? Because Okada has the Continental title. I mean, I guess there's Ospreay, but Ospreay's not getting this title until Wembley. So you don't really want to put him in the title picture yet.
No, it doesn't make any sense. There's nobody else to bring into the title.
Where do
MJF is coming back?
That's what what I wonder. I thought about this Friday.
Oh God, why did I just say that?
Because I was going to bring it up anyway. I was waiting till we finished talking about.
I didn't
that.
mean to say that.
I was already thinking about this, and I texted my friend group about this, and the response was
think about that just now.
Does Maxwell return tonight to cost Samoa Joe the title because Joe beat him? I want Swerve to win clean.
Of course.
I want that to happen. I want this to be a clean match.
It should.
I don't think Hangman comes back. I think Hangman's still on his sabbatical
hiatus.
Doing his approved hiatus. I feel like he's not going to be involved in this. I wonder, because somebody in the chat may know, I feel like MJF and Swerve have a history on the indies, like in MLW.
I feel like someone was talking about that too.
I feel like I remember that somewhere. So I don't know that Swerve is desperate enough to call Maxwell and be like, I need your services. Let me you've offered your services to other people in the past. I also would like to purchase your services, which is possible. I don't want that. I want a clean win for Swerve.
Me too.
I think Swerve has earned that.
Agreed.
And I think fans who are sick of MJF and we're sick of him will be very pissed if MJF gets involved here. I don't want him involved here. But it crossed my mind
Like I said, I
Thanos.
didn't think of that until just there when I said it. Like, just
Yeah, I
saying
thought
it,
about it.
and now I'm like,
I
no!
thought about it Friday morning. Then I had read somewhere earlier in the week that MJF met with AEW the day after Big Business. Nobody knows what the meeting was about. We still don't know how his injuries are. It could have just been like, hey, this is how I'm progressing. I don't think I'm going to be back anytime soon. Or
Why don't
maybe
they should wait until UBS. It's in his hometown anyway. They should wait till Forbidden Door if they're going to bring him back.
That's what I think, because Forbidden Door is on Long Island. It's it's June 30th, I believe.
Yeah,
I would wait. And we've talked about it before. He could come at Double or Nothing, because we all know what happened at Double or Nothing 2 years ago, and the whole thing with Vegas and the whole thing. However, if he comes back, then Wardlow might murder him on site. So
cool.
There's also that.
Make sure you televise it.
I really do not want MJF to get involved here. However, it is in the back of my mind that he could potentially get involved here. I get it for costing Samoa Joe the title. However, I don't want Swerve to become champion because of that. I don't want that at all. I want it to be a clean, regardless of who wins tonight, I want a clean finish because of the story these two men have been telling. Agreed. And I don't want Swerve's championship to come off of stupidity. Especially off of MJF, when MJF he tarnished that title a lot towards the end. So I don't want that. Sean said that it's Swerve's time, and AEW makes history with a win tonight. No MJF, it would overshadow Swerve's win. Yeah, he does make history because he would be the first Black AEW world champion. Nyla was the first Black AEW women's world champion. So that's the difference between the two, because some people were like, well, it's technically Nyla, but I think he means as world champion, because obviously they don't call it a men's championship. They call it world. And I think that's the thing. But Swerve he is correct. He would be the first Black
It'd be huge.
It would be huge, and I agree.
On many levels,
right?
There's just so many reasons why seeing him become champion would be an enormous win for fans.
Yeah. Well, Sean says, I don't think Max would do that to someone else like his moment was stolen away. Well, I mean, he screwed Wardlow and ruined Wardlow's he screwed Wardlow real bad at Double or Nothing. And then Wardlow, and that was the thing I was going to bring back up with Swerve, was like, you had Wardlow, who was super hot, and they didn't do anything with it. Then he gets the title and they squandered it and made it meaningless and pointless. And then he lost it and they built up his momentum again just to pull him right back down. And you can't do Wardlow is still recovering from that, and they cannot do that to Swerve. They have to Swerve. They hopefully have learned their lesson with what they did.
It'll be a big waste. It'd be a big giant waste. It'd be stupid. Wouldn't make sense.
She does identify as both Black and Native American, because she did in our she did when she was champion, but also in our interview she identifies as both Black and Native American.
Cool.
But yeah, so yeah, I hope Swerve wins here.
I hope Swerve wins too.
I hope it's clean. I hope we don't see MJF tonight.
Agreed.
So yeah. So before we get out of here, is there what do you think is going to be match of the night?
I think it's going to be Danielson and Ospreay, but I do think Okada and Pac is going to
that was my next question, was what's your sleeper match? And
that's gonna be, I think that those two matches are gonna be just because I'm a pure wrestling fan. I like the singles, pure, like, let's go one-on-one. While I do believe that tag team title match is gonna be awesome, I think that those are my two.
I agree.
I think that I don't see how Danielson and Ospreay fall short of being one of the best matches of the year, let alone the best match of the night. I mean, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, and I think Samoa Joe versus Swerve is gonna be really, really good, regardless of whatever the outcome is. I think the match is gonna be fantastic, but I wouldn't call it a sleeper match, because I think people already know. We've seen what both of them can do. We've seen.
I think the sleeper on this card is Kazuchika Okada versus Pac.
I think so too. I would agree with that. And then I think the match of the night is going to be Ospreay versus Pac. I think that will be. I think the tag match is going to be a lot of fun. I think the ladder match is going to surprise people, or people are going to. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. I think even with or whether or not Jack Perry interferes or gets involved, which I think he will.
Yeah,
but I think the ladder match is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, and Sean says here that for pure wrestling, Danielson versus Ospreay for entertainment and storyline, FTR versus the Bucks. Yeah, I really think that's going to be.
Like
and the Bucks said they did an interview with Sports Illustrated earlier this week and said that there's some surprises coming in for tonight that nobody is expecting, and that Dynasty is going to be, forget exactly what they said, but they have alluded. I don't know if they mean just necessarily with them and their stuff, or if they just mean the show overall. So I think I'm really looking forward to this show a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I think the card is really good. I'm really excited about both of the women's matches. I'm glad they're both getting time. I feel like they can advance multiple women's storylines with both of these matches, which is really nice to see. So I feel like, and maybe we get a little bit more with the Mercedes Who Done It stuff. Like, I feel like they can do stuff with that. I feel like we got a bunch of good stuff happening today. And so I think the show will not disappoint. And I even going into 0 hour, like, I think that there's some good stuff there. Will help out ROH, I guess, depending on, and that's the thing. I guess once they unify these titles, they're probably not coming to Honor Club. The titles will probably, unless Top Flight and Action Andretti wins those titles at some point, then they might come to Honor Club. Otherwise, I think that's a main roster. I mean, that's an AEW title from now on, especially because they created it with the intention of the Elite getting it. And I think that because it's a fairly new title, that it probably will just stay on AEW. I don't think it's going to Honor Club. But yeah. So I think that's it. Was there anything else you wanted to add about this show?
No, I think we covered it good. I'm excited. Like, I wasn't sure about having more pay-per-views, but if they're going to look like this, I'm all about it.
Yeah, right?
Because I feel like
first show, this is a very good card.
This is an excellent card. There's not I am actually looking forward to I can't look at this and go, I don't want to watch that match.
Except maybe Jericho and Hook.
Jericho and Hook is the one that I'll probably. It's early, so
I feel like that's gonna be an early match, or an early.
I wouldn't
early on our
notes. Maybe it won't be so early, but that's gonna be my bathroom match. Probably.
I would not open the pay-per-view with that match.
No.
That's not gonna set. You don't want to set the tone for the night with that show. I mean, with that match, and that match is not gonna sell a pay-per-view. I think that it should be.
It might be a good cool-off match.
I think it should be I feel like it should be earlier on the card, maybe like match 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the only match I'm not really.
I mean, if
they
lead off,
and I don't think it will be a bad match by any means.
No,
because
but it's just not going to be
a match it's pointless, and we've seen it, and we don't need it, and Jericho's probably going to win.
Well, and with everything else that's even on there, even 0 hour.
That is the weakest match on this card.
Yeah, including 0 hour, which has a bunch of story stuff involved in it.
Yeah, which I do like that is happening. I like the storyline stuff. And Jericho, Sean says Jericho and Hook is probably second or third. Yeah, I could see that. I feel like
I'll probably have to pee by then. So
yeah, that's pizza delivery, your Uber Eats delivery will probably be there
during that time.
If you're ordering food for tonight's show,
yep.
It's your bathroom break show or match. Yeah, I
love take the dog out.
That's it. Yeah, I was gonna say, my lady, you need to go to the potty. Let's go now.
This is the time.
This is the time to do it. But overall, I think this is a really good
I think
card.
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is going to advance a lot of stuff. I think that's going to I hope it makes the shows between now and Double or Nothing could be a lot of fun based off of whatever happens tonight, which I think could really set up a lot, because Double or Nothing is such a huge pay-per-view for them. And so I think we've got some good stuff here if we can kind of move away. I mean, we've got the Jericho stuff, so we're just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. But
well, they've got a lot of great people, so their Double or Nothing could be like the best one ever if they set it up.
Yeah,
right.
Revolution was a phenomenal show, and not just because I was there, but for me, that is like
it was
up
good
there for show of the year. It's It's right. It's up for me. That's probably, as of right now, that's my pick for show of the year. And I know it's only April and we've still got a long ways to go, but but for me, that's show of the year thus far. And I think that, I don't know that maybe it could surpass. I mean, this card is excellent. It could be, I think it's for their very first Dynasty. I think it's a very strong card. It's going to be a very good show.
Dynastiest.
It will be the Dynastiest.
Right on. Let's get to you guys to your party.
Yes. So thank you guys for hanging out with us early, especially to make sure that I could get to IRL stuff on time, which I really appreciate. So thank you for coming and hanging out with us early. And thanks for being involved in the chat and giving your ideas, because we had a lot of really good conversations and gave me some different perspectives on things, which is always fun. So I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys coming in to do that. We will be back at our regular time next week. So we'll be back at 1 o'clock or at 1:10 or whenever we as wizards decide we will get here.
Correct.
Around the 1 o'clock hour. We
Soft one.
Thanks, Hassan.
Thank you guys. And
you.
I want to echo Sam's thanks that you guys we really wanted to go early with partially because you guys have been talking to us and we really enjoy the interacting. It's really fun. So thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get out of here. You guys have an excellent week.
Yes. Enjoy Dynasty. Oh, also